Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Starlight Beacon Transmissions. We are finally back after a, a- some time away. We are finally back, and we are here. Uh, we have the exact same plush here at the
Literally, I
house
love
too.
it. It's so
Yes.
big and snuggly. It makes me
Oh,
happy.
the sleeping loaf cat.
Yes,
Yes, yes.
my
The-
favorite.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. It's really funny. We have we have my wife has hers on the bed, and so like I'm laying there and like I kind of spread out and like I put my arm like on the loaf cat as like a way to like just rest my arm when I'm sleeping.
Mhm.
um and the loaf cat doesn't seem to mind,
Yeah,
so yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, but we're back finally. Hey John, how's it going? We're finally back. We are talking Star Wars Rebels tonight, but before we dive into that, we're going to do a little quick catch up here. uh Allie, you get to start your Disney college program again soon.
Yes, yes. I wanted to go back for a while. I missed the Disney magic. California doesn't hire as much as I was hoping, so I'm going back to Orlando.
Hey, why not, right?
Why
Why not?
not?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, every opportunity to see Luminous again, which is
Exactly,
yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. We caught it when we were on vacation a few weeks back, and oh man, it's it's still just as good as it was that first time. It's just
Exactly.
awesome. It's so good.
It's so good.
Um yeah, so we've been busy between work and life and everything, and this was the first weekend where we actually had some time to breathe a little bit.
Yeah.
However, uh, today my wife and I were in Baltimore City at the Edgar Allan Poe Festival, which I got this cool Charm City Ghostbusters T-shirt.
Nice.
So you see the circle is the Maryland flag, and for those of you that don't know, this is the Natty Bow guy. National Bohemian is a beer that's brewed here in Maryland,
Uh-huh.
and it is awful. Um, yeah, but it had the Natty Bow, so
Mm,
Anyway,
yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
You want to talk Rebels?
Yes.
Okay, so 10 years. It has been
Mhm.
10 years.
Yeah,
Allie, you are younger than me.
yeah.
Um, And I saw your Instagram posts about the Rebels 10th anniversary and how you said, um, how do you feel? I feel old. Um,
Exactly.
so you were in high school when this aired, right?
No, actually, so this
No.
Rebel started coming out when I was in 8th grade, actually.
Oh,
So I
okay.
went 8th grade through my junior year of high school. I was
Okay.
baby.
Okay. Hey, Amanda, how's it going? Um, yeah. So technically,
High
it
school for the
aired.
most part, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
started in middle school, went through high school, yeah.
As somebody that because I came to Rebels as an adult. Um not knocking, you know what I mean, like
Yeah,
for me, um the accessibility was still there and everything, but for you going through middle school and high school, um this really had an impact on you.
yes, yes, exactly. I was, like, super duper duper into it, like, I think because, like, obviously, I watched Clone Wars when I was a kid,
Hmm.
like, when I was, like, 7, 8, 9, like, that age, um,
Hmm.
but I was still so young, you know? So, like, you're still, like you're my memories of my childhood, I have them, but they're a bit foggy, but you're also, like,
Yeah.
still so young that your media analysis, it isn't as, like, in-depth
Hmm.
as it is as you grow older.
Oh yeah.
So I feel like Rebels for me was, like, really that first show where I was, like, really, like, "Oh my gosh, I'm growing up with Star Wars," you know what I mean? Because,
Hmm.
like, for example, like, especially with, like, Sabine and Ezra being, like, that age, I
Mhm,
literally grew up with those characters, like, they were teenagers when I was a teenager, and, like, I got
mhm,
to grow up with those characters in that show, and it's just all of the lessons it teaches, all of the growth that characters experience, it really, like, help inform my own life and my own growth in
mhm.
my own life as well, so, yeah, it meant a lot to me throughout my teen years.
Yeah. I mean, so, like, what I am gonna tie this into Rebels here. Rebels is about found family,
Mhm.
which is a huge, huge part of it. Um, in high school, did you feel like that was like because like when you get your friends like in high school and
Yeah,
as you become an adult and you get those lifelong friends, they become like your ghost crew essentially.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Now did you feel like a lot of that like when you were bonding with other people over this or
Oh, for sure, like, um I mainly not necessarily in school,
Mhm.
I made a lot of obviously, at first, I had some close family friends that were really
Yeah.
into Star Wars, so getting to watch Star Wars, like, Rebels with them was super huge for me, and then also, like, once I got more and more into Twitter, obviously, um,
Yeah.
because, like, getting to, like, be like, "Oh my god, like, I love this show so much, I just wanna find, like, people who are like, that's their whole personality," you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, where
Yeah.
are those people? So getting to, like, get hum on Twitter and find people who are also, like, super in love with the show
Mhm.
was just oh my
Yeah.
god, it was amazing, I loved it so much, it meant so much to me to, like, find
Mhm.
people who are just so obsessed and so passionate, and then, like, getting to, you know, like, live tweet things, see how other people reacted, grow
Mhm.
those friendships even after Rebels ended, it meant the world to me for sure, for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. I mean, just knowing like because I love listening to people's stories, especially of like how these different uh how like these different shows and everything really like change people's lives. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
um like I love how much of an impact Rebels has had on you. John says, I think of you guys as my ghost crew on the
oh!
Discord, not trying to be weird or creepily close. You're fine. Amanda says, does that mean I'm cool like Sabine? Amanda, you are
You
always
are
cool
cool
like
like
Sabine.
Sabine.
Um,
Yes.
if I am a Rebels character, I feel like I'm more Zeb because I'm just
Uh-huh.
like really I have to put up with this? Like no, no, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Um
Yeah.
which before we get into all of the characters and everything, StarWars.com did have a which chopper are you quiz. Did you
Mhm.
take it?
Yes, I did, and I okay, so anyone who knows me, especially people who like know me personally, I am like I was like a leadership minor. I wasn't just a comm studies major. I was also a leadership minor. I am always like the atypical, like I'll be the leader in the group. I'll be like the super put together person who will like lead things. So of course I got like the one version of Chopper that wasn't a menace. Like I got the one version of Chopper that was like I got like mechanic Chopper who was like the one who's gonna keep the grows together and like bring everyone together and lead everyone. And I was like of course, that's the chopper I get.
Yes.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Yes, yes, that's awesome. Um I I got I got Imperial Spy Chopper.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. And then I saw Kristen Baver got War Criminal Chopper.
More criminal choppers the best. That is so good. Oh my
Um
gosh.
so if you're new to our community and you're wondering like what the hell is Star Wars Rebels or who the hell is Chopper?
Who
Chopper
are
is
you?
everyone's favorite murder droid.
Exactly.
like, like dude has a body count
A
that
very
would
high body.
John Wick jealous.
Yes.
Like, Chopper has killed over 50,000 people
Mhm.
in Star Wars. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
dude is a straight up gangster. And you know what? He was about to kill Kaz Ziono's dad
Oh my
in
god!
Ahsoka.
Literally, like, so
Like,
true.
he wanted to take him down too.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Chopper is not the type of droid that you want to walk by a cliff with because he would
Uh-huh.
push you over.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Yes.
No, no, honestly, so for people who don't know, I wanna make people aware of this so they can check this
Sure.
out. Okay,
Sure.
so two iconic Chopper is not only, like, a war criminal, but the most iconic Chopper made Star Wars online Star Wars. So
Yeah.
there are 2 segments um, on Rebels Recon, Chopper will just be a menace on that entire recap show, and then they also have a segment specific, like, Chopper I think Chopper Cam, I'm pretty sure it was called,
Yeah, it was Chopper
um,
Cam.
Chopper Cam, and it just follows Chopper, and Chopper just goes on weird places. Like sometimes he's like, I still there's this iconic shot where he's like, I think he's like looking at the Golden Gate Bridge or something. He's on some beach somewhere, and I just died when I was a kid watching that. I was like, oh my god, this is so iconic. And then also Shop Talk. There is
Yeah.
these YouTube videos called Shop Talk where people like made subtitles for Chopper. Widely known for not only killing a bunch of people, but like being the most like dirty mouth Star Wars character. So a lot of it's just Chopper swearing the whole time. And there's just this iconic part, when like Ezra goes off to Tatooine with Obi-Wan, and like I screenshotted this part where Chopper follows him in the ship, and then Chopper just goes like, "Mom will be mad."
Mom will.
Mom will be mad. Oh my god, I love Chopper so much. He's an icon for sure. For sure.
Yes. Chopper is an icon. I feel like we all have a little bit of Chopper in us
Yes,
at times, just like
for sure.
just like
Maybe not like
that
the murder part, but like
yeah,
the other
not
parts.
the murder part, but but the sass,
Yeah,
definitely.
the sass part.
The sass, yeah. Um, and we're also gonna talk about Ahsoka because I consider that a Rebels show as well.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but
for
but I wanna talk about Rebels. So, you know what, Allie? I want you to take this away. I'm gonna
oh
add
gosh.
some stuff here
Oh
and there.
gosh.
Um, but let's start with season one and the thing that kicked this all off with what was it? Spark of Rebellion?
Spark of Rebellion, the most
Yeah,
iconic. I okay. People will trash on early Rebels too much. Too much. I'm sorry. For premieres, Spark of Rebellion, it's so good. I'm
it
sorry.
is.
Like it's so good. I it boggles my mind when people are like, "Oh my god, early Rebels is so rough." And I'm sure when we talk about season 1, I'm going to like just go off for hours about why season 1 is actually really good because
Season
I
one's great.
it's great. Like, and season 2 obviously, which I still acknowledge this, season 2 grows and
Yeah.
it gets even better, but it doesn't necessarily negate the good things that season 1 does.
Hmm.
For sure.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, season one. Well, Spark of Rebellion really introduces you to just this family.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
And like just being a family, and not only just a family, but from the get-go, I it really like helps you kind of see the threads for particularly Kanan and Ezra, but not
yeah.
only just them, but just to see that this is a family, but it's a family that has their own like all their own things. Like when I went on Hope's podcast back in 2020, I was so nervous. I re-listened to it the other day, and you could tell I was like extremely nervous the whole time because I think it was like my second time guesting ever. Um, but like what I said in that blurb, even though I was like super nervous and I didn't really elaborate a ton, but I was like, what first grabbed my attention was it's a show where you have all these people who come together from across the galaxy, all different parts of the galaxy, and they're having to process their past and their present. And I'm going to talk about this a
Yeah.
lot today. Like it's a big thing where it's not only they're currently fighting, like it's not current just a current spark of rebellion, but it's all these different characters who have all these different backstories and are
Mhm.
having to cope with their individual pasts. And like you can kind of see that between the conflict even within the family,
Yeah.
because what trauma and fear does to us as people is it also causes us to be more closed off, or it causes us to
Mhm.
fall more easily into like conflict behavior. And so like when in these early episodes, when like Zeb and Ezra are having conflict, or when
Mhm.
um Kanan and Ezra are having conflict, a lot of that conflict sparks from their past. Like, I don't want to jump ahead too quickly because we'll obviously
Yeah.
talk about Spark. But like, for example, like one of the first like moments between conflict with Zeb and Ezra, like Hera literally sits Ezra down and is like, "Do you know what like these disruptors do? Like, do you have
Yeah.
any backstory?" And she immediately informs Ezra that he's not just like mad at you, like he's just going through a lot in his own personal life. So I
Yeah.
think like the spark of rebellion for me, the spark and what really drew me in, because like kind of in my Instagram caption, what I was trying to say is like when I sat down to watch Spark of Rebellion, I'm like, oh, another Star Wars show. I'll probably love this. But what really like got me obsessed from moment one was seeing like, oh, like they aren't straying away from characters with complexity. Because for me, Ezra, like it's a
Yeah.
kid, and I still want to make a video about like kids in the Star Wars universe, because I feel like
Mhm.
people are often too harsh on them. But this is a child that experienced trauma at a very young age, and because of that trauma is shutting down and is scared and afraid to help, and is having to come into this family unit that's so used to just go go go, throw yourself in danger.
Yeah.
And he has to adapt, like not only adapts to that, but also has to like recognize his own flaw with it. Like sure, it's valid to have those fears, but ultimately he's reminded of what his parents stood up for, and that
Mhm.
ultimately it's okay to be afraid, but you can't let that fear like rule your life. And that was just
Mhm.
such an immediate draw in for me, where I was like, holy crap, like these aren't just characters that are fighting the rebellion, these are not fighting the rebellion. These are just characters that are fighting the empire, but they are characters that have their own like pasts, which we'll
Mhm.
get to when we talk about some of the later episodes, that have their own past that are limiting them in certain ways, and they have to overcome that and push
Yeah.
through that. And it just I rebels. I'm gonna ramble so much today. I apologize in advance to everyone watching.
No, no need to apologize also. John says season 1 does a good job of introducing these characters and later fleshing them out. Yeah, but I also feel like in Spark of Rebellion, as soon as you're introduced to these characters, it feels like you already know these characters. Like they are so approachable with the way that they set these characters up. Like it feels like you've spent so much time with these characters even though you've only just met them.
Mhm.
like like the heist like at the beginning of that episode
Exactly.
is a great way of doing that, because like they dive into it, and then they're just like, yeah, no, we're gonna catch this team mid mission, and this is like the first time that you've ever met these guys,
Right.
and
Yeah,
they do such a good job with it.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
uh,
sure.
yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. Okay, let me see. I think like for Spark of Rebellion too, not just like Ezra, but something I like really liked about this episode is it also like kind of got into specifically how the Empire like copes with small groups.
Oh yeah.
Because a lot of the stuff we'd seen with like the Rebellion and the Empire so far in Star Wars prior to Rebels was we were already like very deep into the conflict.
Yeah.
But like seeing Oresco and Grint at the beginning of this episode and just seeing like, oh wow, like they just stole some supplies on speeder bikes, like not a big deal, Callus, what do you mean? Like just to see like the Empire so new to the conflict, so not even to the point of not even really thinking it's conflict at that
Yeah.
point in time, because they're just like, oh, it's just a group stealing stuff, like what do you
Yeah.
mean larger rebellion? And like Callus has to be like, they're not just stealing stuff, like you realize like this could just like spark of rebellion, for example, like
Yeah.
the spark, like this could amount to something bigger. And to see also the threats that are going to come in later, like the glimpses of like the Inquisitor, and
Mhm.
like how how these like larger like scale like how everything's just going to escalate is what I'm trying to say.
Mhm.
Like we see this a lot through Rebels, but like just to see how it doesn't shy away from the fact that at first the rebellion was such a new thing to the Empire. Like they were
Yeah,
like, rebellion? What do you mean? What is that?
yeah,
So just to see that the show was going to be not just a rebellion, like we weren't just starting with a rebellion, but this was just a group of people that was fighting back that would
yeah,
ultimately grow obviously to become a rebellion, but like
mhm,
they really played into that whole idea of like spark of rebellion, you know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. And I love that you bring up Callus because he's such a great character,
I
even in this
love
premiere.
Oh my god, okay, sorry. Okay, so I say this every podcast, and I even mentioned this when we talked about Acolyte, I think it was.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
I hated Callus at first.
yeah,
I did not like this character. He treated Zeb like crap, and it made me so mad. But like Callus as a character now is one of my favorite characters in Star Wars.
yeah,
That was one of the most powerful things Rebels ever did for me was making a character I viscerally hated to making a character that like I probably read and write the most fanfic about. So um so so I just yeah, no, just like getting to see a character that's so loyal to the Empire and so like
yeah,
caught up in the propaganda and his beliefs to see the journey, which we'll talk more about obviously when we
yeah,
get to season 2 and 3, to see the journey he goes on is so powerful and means so
yeah,
much to me for sure.
yeah. And I love that. I love his story. I absolutely love his story. And tell me that him and Zeb didn't get married at the end.
They did. They did.
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
They,
oh, they're
they did.
husbands.
They
Oh,
did.
yeah. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
Sorry.
No, 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 it's fine. It's fine. Callus has one of the best redemption stories in all of Star Wars. Absolutely, absolutely, he does. The Ghost Crew was the best. They really were. They really, really were. Um, one thing that stands out to me. Well, actually, there's two things that stand out to me in the premiere. One of them being, and it's actually at the same time.
Mhm,
And it's towards the end where we get the Ghost Crew rescuing the Wookiees as they're about to be shipped off to the spice mines.
mhm,
And I love that they really touched on Wookiee slavery because that's something
mhm, mhm.
that they've like skirted around in a lot of Star Wars canon stories.
Yeah.
But to actually like see it was really interesting. And then to see them save, of course, save the Wookiees. But I will say this: the reveal of Kanan with the lightsaber is still one of the
Top
best
tier.
moments.
Top tier. Oh my gosh. So
A-
good.
And it's when he's standing on the roof of the ghost. Is
Mhm.
it when he's standing on the roof of the
No.
ghost that he
Mhm.
No, 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 he's
No,
on
no,
the
no.
platform.
No, yeah. No, he's
Yeah,
not.
yeah.
He's just like emerges from the crates, the
That's
line of
right.
crates.
That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
And then, like, I love his lightsaber with the twist. Oh, I love that lightsaber
Oh,
so
it's so
much.
good.
So
And
good.
to see the evolution of that, to see throughout the show how he goes from, like, having it detached like that to
Mhm.
finally just having it out and you go, that part of development for Kaden gets me every time, my god.
John says slay Kanan, absolutely.
Like
And
Kanan's
and Amanda says Kanan with that lightsaber was the best. It really was. Like it is such we talk about iconic Star Wars moments. That to me is like one of the most iconic Star Wars moments to me. And then the oh shit look on Callus's face, like when Kanan activates the lightsaber is amazing.
right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um but with towards the end of that premiere, Ezra joins the crew of the Ghost, and then we get a few episodes of growing pains between Ezra and Kanan as Kanan decides to train Ezra because Kanan realizes that Ezra is force sensitive.
Yeah.
Um, but then we're also introduced to Loth cats.
Oh my god, love cat. Oh,
Yeah,
speaking of, here we go. That's why I grabbed it
yeah,
before, you know?
yeah. I've got the Halloween one right there.
Oh my gosh. I
Yeah,
see. I have not found that one, and I hate Seattle for that. Thanks, Seattle.
Thanks, Seattle. Thanks a lot, guys.
Yeah.
Um, do we just want to talk about like episodes that stood out in the season,
Sure.
or do you want to talk about characters that stood like how would you like to talk about
How
this?
I often break down my notes,
Yeah.
is I oftentimes do it by character,
Okay.
but I think, like, for me, uh I think for me, like, it varies by season. I think with season 1, for me, it worked well to, I picked, like I think season 1, there's, like, a few core episodes, so that might actually work better, for
Mhm.
season 1 because, like, I feel like for each character, there's, like, this core, like, 1 or 2 episodes that are so core to it, for the
Yeah.
characters. So maybe going by characters, but it's your podcast. Like I said, I didn't like you asked me how I want to do it. And I was just like, it's not my podcast.
Um,
I'm not about to tell you how to do
is I
it.
can't remember. Is the fulcrum reveal at the end of season one?
No, 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 no. Oh wait, which one? Oh, the Ahsoka one. Yes, the Ahsoka one. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, no.
No. No. No. No. No. That
No.
other fulcrum reveal is the best. That
Yeah,
other fulcrum.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And we'll get to that one.
No, Ahsoka.
Um.
Yes, that is the end of
Yeah.
season one. Yes, yes.
Because that's also when Vader shows up too.
Mhm.
I bel I believe Vader shows up in that.
You're
I
making me
know
forget
Tarkin's involved.
my own Rebels knowledge. I
Yeah. I am so sorry, people. We're talking Rebels, and a lot of it
think
runs
it
together.
doesn't come till season two. I
That's
think
right.
it's
Vader doesn't
mainly
show up till
Ahsoka
season
that
two.
shows up
Yeah,
in one.
yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
Tarkin is
Yeah,
Vader's in
Tarkin's
season
in
one
season
finale.
one.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes.
Tarkin is a huge character in season one.
Yeah.
Um, and then we're also introduced to Price in season one as well.
No, we're
Um,
not. Wait, what? Is
hmm?
she actually? I didn't think we got Price till season 3, but now
Oh
now
no,
you're making me second guess everything about I
no, yeah, no, no, no. She's in season three. She's in season three because the first canon Thrawn book happened right around the start of season three, and then like that's when she's
Yeah,
introduced.
so season 1
Yeah,
mainly has so Vader comes in 2. Season 1, it's mainly Callus uh, Tarkin,
yeah,
um, and I think that's mainly it, and then obviously Resco Grant, like all those other schmucks. Yeah.
and then
Lists, all those people.
that's all. We also get the Grand Inquisitor,
Oh, yeah,
and
and the Grand Inquisitor,
yeah,
obviously. Obviously, obviously.
and then we get one of the best jokes of the series, which is Ezra calling himself Jabba the Hutt.
Oh my god, icon. As
Yes.
for the king of identity theft identity theft.
And then the Lando episode is in season one
Yes.
too, with the puffer pigs,
Yeah.
which I love that. I love that episode so much.
Oh
It's
my
so
god.
funny.
The puffer pigs, oh my gosh, the best. So good.
Yes.
Love them.
And then we is is Hondo in season one?
You really don't remember. He's in season 2.
He's in season.
Wait,
I'm
is
so sorry.
wait, wait.
I'm so
Are
sorry.
you making me second guess myself? Wait, hold please. Hold please. I wrote this
Ezra and Kanan hating Lando was so funny. Yeah, yeah,
down.
yeah. Vader and
Season
Ahsoka
2,
scene.
season 2,
So
I am right.
okay,
It's
okay,
season 2.
okay.
It's season 2.
Okay, I'm gonna shut up now about which characters show up in season one. Vader and Ahsoka scene still makes me so emotional, and we're gonna get to that. We are gonna get to that scene. Hondo was first in season two. Okay, yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
That's right because he has that joke. Leave your wife out of this. Um, anyway,
Yeah.
um,
So because I think like that's what I'm gonna talk about a lot with season 2. Season 2 is a very expansive season. That's why a
yeah,
lot of those characters don't show up till 2.
yeah,
Because that's like really when because for me, like season 1, it really it spends a lot more time like focusing on like I don't it sounds weird to say this, but planting those seeds of like what is to come.
Yeah.
Like, a lot more centralized between the characters. For example, like several of the episodes, which I can bring up in a second, like a
Yeah.
lot of the character relations is like Sabine and Hera, Zeb and Callus and Ezra and Kanan. Like it's more centralized to the characters they introduce off the bat in that season. Whereas like 2, you get like, and obviously you get Lando in 1, but you get
Yeah.
like in season 2 you get like Hondo, and you get like a lot more of the expansive, like all across the galaxy kind of stuff. So season 1 for me, I think like the 2 episodes like I particularly want to talk a bit about.
Sure.
I actually, I don't want to talk too much. Yeah, no, I'll keep it to 2. There's like a third, but I don't want to like
Okay.
ramble.
Just whatever.
Yeah. So the Out of Darkness, for Sabine and Hera, because obviously we
Yes.
look at me, guys, like we're gonna talk about Sabine today. And then before that, earlier is obviously the I am blanking on the title. You all know which episode I'm talking about. The episode with the disruptors with Callus and Zeb and all that.
Oh yeah. Oh, that was
Um,
so good.
yeah, because I think like Zeb gets a lot more in season 2 than he does in 1, but I think it's important. I want to spend time talking about that episode in season 1 because I feel like when we talk about season 1, we don't talk a lot about Zeb because Zeb oftentimes I feels like gets neglected when we talk about Rebels. So I definitely want to talk about that. One of them comes. The Zeb one comes first chronologically. Do you have a preference which one we talk about first?
No.
Okay.
Whatever. I think Out of Darkness is the one with the supply depot, right?
Yeah, Out of Darkness is one where they found the old base
Yeah.
with the Rhydonium and everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll start with that just because I know I'm going to talk more about it because it has Sabine on it.
No, don't do it. No.
No, don't do it. Don't talk
Don't
about
do it.
Sabine. No. Yeah, just wait till we get to season 3, people. Get your popcorn.
Get your popcorn.
Okay, so Out of Darkness.
Hey Andrew, how's it going? Sorry.
Hello. Out of Darkness. I was already drawn to Sabine for several reasons. I always talk about this. She was artistic, like super into art. She was my age. I could tell that she was struggling with certain things about her past, and that always drew me to her and already. But this episode in
Yeah.
particular, like if there's an episode like okay, imagine this, people. So Allie's photo library, we got like cute pictures of little 8th grade Allie. We've got like cute pictures of like her of her friends and everything's super cute and cool. And then it's just Sabine. Like, we had the Sabine photos sprinkled, but this became like the rush where the photo library just became Sabine. The reason this episode for me, because kind of what I talked about in the beginning was how these are characters that aren't just fighting the Empire, but they're characters that struggle with their own past in relation to that fight.
Yeah.
And Sabine, from the get-go, obviously we see her like super passionate to like blow things up, fight the bucketheads, like not doesn't take crap and like wants to stand up and fight for things. But we learn in this episode that fight isn't quite as easy for her as it might have seemed.
Yeah.
She's very open with Hera, and we get a lot more context to this in season 3, about her past with the Empire, and her time in the Imperial Academy and the effect that had on her, and how that past and that hurt is making it challenging for her to trust in everything they're doing, for the sole reason that she just doesn't want her friends to get hurt again. And obviously at this point in time I didn't know about season 3, but I want to talk about season 3 because we're talking about Rebels as a whole today.
Yeah.
When we get to hear why that is in season 3, like just get all the full context to that, it hits even more, because it's not just not wanting her friends to get hurt, but she has direct experience with how her actions led to people she cares about getting hurt. When she built that weapon, her her parents, her like family, all Mandalorians were all they used that weapon on people she cared about, people that
Yeah.
were hurt. And so for her, it's difficult to fight knowing that there's always that risk that people could get hurt again. And
Yeah.
also just because she also knows what the empire does. She knows the empire like to the obviously they can on the surface see that they do horrible things, but Sabine has directly seen that they will cross like the deepest lines. Like they
Yeah.
will literally, if you work for them, they will use your weapon against like your family. They
Yeah.
won't blink. Like they won't second guess it. They will just freaking like use that weapon against people you care about. And so to see her open up to Hera and express that fear, that
Yeah.
vulnerability as a child, like that's why it means so much to me. Like where you have these characters, like I said, that are they're not questioning the fight.
No.
She's very open. She's like, I want to help people. I want to fight the empire, but you need to give me more reassurance that it's going to be okay because it's
Yeah.
hard for them to fully see that at that point.
Hmm.
Like, ah,
Yeah. I want to talk real quick about you talked about the weapon and like how they use that very weapon against you and the people that you love. Cassian Andor is the perfect example of that. He helped
mm,
create the Death Star
uh-huh.
only to be killed by it.
Yeah.
And for Sabine to actually go through something like that as well. I mean, it's I've loved Sabine since the beginning, honestly, because of that character development, because of that moment with her and Hera, because Hera also talks about the Ryloth rebellion too.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, and, that's why I love season 2 too, because
yeah,
season 2 is what opens up more with, like, Hera and more with, like, Zeb even more, like, it just
yeah,
I think but even to get these, like, these early crumbs in the season, 1 episodes about, like, what those, like, internalized conflicts were for the different characters was so meaningful, and also it's like you really get to see in this episode just which we'll talk about more throughout the seasons, but, like, just Hera's extreme commitment to the cause.
yeah,
And also Hera goes on her own journey. It's kind of I don't want to call it a complete inverse because obviously she still goes after Kanan in the end. She still like does a lot of sacrifices for her family. So I'm not
yeah,
calling it a complete inverse, but like Hera compared to like some of the others, really her journey is more about cause then family versus
yeah,
family then cause.
yep,
Because Hera really has to like work the really have to work on that prioritizing levels and
yeah,
how it impacts her family versus the cause. And like you mentioned, the Ryloff stuff, which obviously this is jumping ahead because this is getting more towards like season 2 territory because that's when that episode
yeah,
is. But like for example, like Hera has her own background with how her family reacted to the conflict and how that drove her into the cause. So
yeah,
yeah, yeah, I know. I just it means so much to me to like see episodes like this and like the one we're about to
yeah,
talk about with the Zeb one,
yeah.
where you see the conflict these characters experience in their past and how it's impacting their decisions in the present.
Oh yeah. Um, I I love Out of Darkness. It's such a great episode. Um, I mean, because I mean, because of those character moments, because of all of that. Plus, I mean, it's also pretty exciting with the monster of the
Yeah,
week.
and also no, it just is honestly one of my favorite parts of it is the fact that they go back there. I
Yeah.
love the way that Ezra reacts when Kanan's like, "Yeah, we're gonna go back to that planet. We're gonna take the Imperials there." He's like, "With the creepy creatures? Like, are you sure? Like, really? We're gonna go back there?" It's so funny. I love it.
um, the episode that you're about to talk about
Yes.
is one of my favorites, also. Um, because, like I said, Zeb is actually my favorite rebel in the Ghost Crew, right? Um, and him seeing those disruptors and knowing that
Yeah.
they killed his people.
Yeah.
Oh, just
Ugh.
mm. And the fight, the brutality of that fight between him and Callus.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, this is why it was hard for me. Like why it took me a while to like Callus, but when it happened, people. But like just because of this episode, and that's why when we talk about the honorable ones later, why I appreciated how they handled the discussions between Zeb and Callus and the honorable ones, because it was very important for Callus to recognize what he does in this episode. He gleefully takes like full credit for the entire genocide, like
Yeah,
completely, like with a smile on his face, is like, I gave the order to use the disruptors, like this is all like my doing, I did all of this to you. Like he takes too much, like so much pride in like what he did. And so that's why when we talk about the honorable ones, it was so like important for him to bring that up, because like he is like so headfirst into it in this episode. And like you said, it's brutal. Like it really, it's not just a conflict for Zeb, but it's someone directly from the past who
yeah,
is like involved in that conflict. It really brings those emotions like so rawly to the surface. And
yeah,
oh, and just to see like Zeb's internal struggle, and especially when we get into talking like about season 2 more, like just to see how that impacts his own decisions, and how, especially because like a lot of times Zeb is like more like more louder, or
mhm,
like just out there, and like just to
yeah,
see some of those moments where he draws back, like that vulnerability just really bubbles to the surface. And obviously a lot of that comes through in anger, but especially in season 2, like you see it not only comes in anger, but it comes in this like deep sadness that he carries with him as well.
yeah, yeah. Because at that point, he's alone. Like he has no one else at that point, and just I mean, and yeah, John, he did look traumatized. He did look traumatized. He really did. Like because he relived all of those moments. Um,
Mhm.
just like Sabine relived all of those moments again and again. Just but you know what? That only strengthens the relationship that that Zeb and Callus will
That's
have.
right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, we were happy that he found more of his people too. Like
Oh,
that.
for sure. Yeah, no, that's why when we get talking about season 2, we're gonna talk a ton about that stuff. Because like, yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. Um, I want to talk about the season one finale and how that sets up a lot too.
All right.
Um, I mean, if you're cool with that.
Yeah, I think like not only season 1 finale, but also call to action, just because like
Yeah.
it feeds into the one finale, and I
Oh yeah,
think
yeah,
it
yeah,
impacts a lot of like why the characters make the decisions they do in the finale as well.
yeah, yeah. Go ahead with call to action. Yeah,
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah.
yeah,
And I want to just highlight a few things with like call to action in this finale too. Um so Ezra, it works hard in season 1 to open himself up to attachment.
yeah,
And oh my god, call to action, it's so hard, man. But it's ultimately, it shows how Ezra grew still. um,
yeah,
Ezra is faced with one of his main fears behind opening up to attachment and
mhm,
to fighting for others, and
yeah,
that is losing others. And but the difference is, instead of shutting down, focusing only on himself and running away, Ezra beams out a message. He still beams out the message and says, "We can't back down just because we're afraid. That's when we need to stand the tallest. That's what my parents taught me. That's what my new family helped me remember." I can still quote that off. I can quote all of that like speech by heart. Like I'm not even reading my notes right now here, people. Like, no, because just that whole speech, um, it means so much, because like he faces that fear. He loses Kanan in that moment, and instead of shutting down, he is the most persistent to fight back and get Kanan, and it drives a lot of um his own coping with fear. Is Out of all of them, Ezra is the most push forward and fight, whereas a
yeah,
lot of the other Ghost crew members, they draw back when faced with fear, and
mhm,
shut down. But Ezra is just so adamant, and it's just so great to hear like the lessons that Hera has been working to teach him the entire season
mhm,
reflected back in his own words. And how, despite faced with that difficult experience, he's still willing to fight it. Because they don't know at that time whether or not they'll get Kanan back, but he still like has hope and keeps that hope and faith, and also like to bring in the previous like episodes too, like that scene at the end of the Gall Travis episode where Hera and Ezra are sitting down, and like Ezra's like, why don't people believe in us? Like, how are we
Yeah.
supposed to keep fighting if there's people like Travis that'll just keep like stabbing us in the back? And it's like Hera's like, but we have, because we have hope. Like,
Mhm.
sure, these bad things will happen. Like, we'll lose people, or people won't have believe in us. I don't think fully she believes they'll lose people, because like we see in season 4, she's like, what? We actually lost people. But that's
Yeah.
different. But like at least to that point of like people betraying or people not having faith in them. Hera, it reminds him that it's like it's because we have that hope, like no
Yeah.
matter how challenging that situation is. And Ezra carries that through these episodes at the end of the season, where he is
Mhm.
constantly the one pushing with Hera and pushing with everyone. It's like we can't just like go into hiding or like do Fulcrum's next mission. We have to like we have to get Kanan.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just I love it. I love it so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, it's amazing. And then the finale is incredible with the rescue, and then Vader coming in and almost wiping people out, and
That's season 2. You
yeah, that
didn't.
is season 2.
You did
I
that again.
I did do that. Like I said, a lot of it runs together. A
I
lot of it
know, I
runs
know.
together.
It's totally fair, because season 2 really does start as like an extension of 1.
It does. It
So
does. Espe
it's a
es
valid
Yeah,
feeling.
yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I jumped ahead. But
It's
the
good.
fulcrum reveal at the end of season 1 with
Gosh.
Ahsoka being alive and everything, because the last time we saw her, she left the Jedi Temple, because we
Yeah,
didn't have Clone Wars season 7 then
yeah,
at that
yeah,
point. So we had
yeah,
no idea what happened with Ahsoka.
exactly.
Yeah, and then she showed
Something
up.
else, yeah, but first I'll share some thoughts about that, and then I wanna bring up one more thing with,
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
finale.
yeah.
Um, so with Ahsoka, I honestly I talk at length about how Sabine is like my favorite, but like
Yeah.
that was like a character I grew up with, like Ahsoka, like that was some of my first Star Wars I ever saw, like because I was honestly like the times like I say this when I tell my story, like the time I knew it was like Star Wars
Mhm.
for sure was when I first watched the films when I was 7. But like I
Yeah.
still, honest to goodness gracious, to my memory, think I saw Clone Wars episodes before I first watched the films. Because you just have Cartoon Network on, and it just comes
Oh,
on to
yeah.
Cartoon Network.
Yeah.
So like she was just a character that was like one of the first Star Wars characters that was just so prominent in my childhood, because Clone
Yeah.
Wars was coming out at that time. So yeah, seeing that reveal, I was like, oh my god, it's Ahsoka. Oh my god, it's like no, it's not only my favorite show now, but it's also Ahsoka's in it too now. Oh my god. And then also I Tarkin.
Mm,
Tarkin. Tarkin. That torture scene with Kanan. It's gritty. It's so gritty between Tarkin and the Inquisitor getting in Kanan's head and playing with
yeah.
Kanan's like fears, and oh my god, it's so dark, and it's painful, because like you really just get to like really see
Yeah.
directly how Kanan's past is really affecting him. And also then to see him stand tall in that fight, even when he thinks he loses Ezra. That's, oh my god, it's so
Oh, I
good.
know. I know.
Oh
And I
my
have
god.
to say, Steven Stanton as Tarkin is incredible. Like
So good. So good.
he acted the hell out of that role. Absolutely. And you know what? I loves me some Tarkin. I am always down for some more Tarkin.
Exactly. No, see, like we were doing like this fan event the other day. I mean, one of the questions was like favorite cameo. Too many people picked surveyed characters. Like too many of those responses were characters were not cameos. They were just like side characters that were in Rebels a decent
Yeah.
amount. So, but like so when I was thinking cameos, I'm like Tarkin. No
Mhm.
one, no one said Tarkin in that survey, and I was like, "Are you freaking kidding me, people? Like Tarkin's awesome in this show. Like,
Oh,
come
he is.
on."
He really is. Because the cool thing about this show and even the Bad Batch is
Mhm.
like Tarkin is like behind the scenes pulling a
Oh,
bunch of strings, and
exactly.
like he's the big bad of these two shows without being the big bad of these two shows.
Right.
And like when Tarkin shows up to play, and he
Right.
does not back down. Oh, I love
Mhm.
Tarkin so much.
Yeah.
I love Tarkin so much. Let's move on to season 2.
Okay.
If unless you have more.
See, I could always talk more, but we have 3 other seasons to get to, so I'll be fine.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, yeah,
All
yeah.
right, so let's move on to season 2. The crew gets a little bit bigger in season 2.
Yeah. Yes, it
Yeah.
does.
Mhm.
Oh boy,
Yeah,
Kanan.
Tarkin killing those two Imperial
Holy
officers. Kanan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Kanan and Rex, stand out like storyline from 2. Oh my freaking like, and it even goes into the later seasons, but just to see again, it's kind of like how, Zeb is faced with, like, Callus and the Disruptors. It's
Yeah.
well, Rex wasn't directly, like, the clone involved with, like, Kanan, at that time, obviously, but, like, he was still a clone. It's still a
Yeah.
direct, like, figure of Kanan's past in the sense that it's a clone that well, Kanan doesn't know whether or not Rex like what Rex did during Order 66, but he still knows what the clones did during Order 66.
Mhm.
So he still has that whole fear and is faced directly with like something that reminds him of his past and to see the conflict between those two and it's so good. It's so
Yeah.
good.
I
So good.
mean, I will say this, like, seeing the Order 66 happen with Kanan in Bad Batch,
Oh my
like,
god, yeah.
it just makes it like when they find Rex, I'm just like, "Oh, man," like, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, "No wonder this dude is just, like, so angry towards this guy,"
Yeah,
like,
exactly, right.
even though Hunter lets him go in Bad
Yeah.
Batch,
I think
but
though, you have to realize he's still a kid, he still
yeah.
knows, like, what
Oh, yeah.
happened, and also you have to remember, like, he still has to come to terms constantly with, like, all of the
Mhm.
loss that the council
Yeah,
experienced, like, when they're hunting down, like, Luminara in season 1, they realize
yeah.
she's not there anymore, like, just getting to reminded of, like, oh my god, the consequences of, like, what the Empire did, it's just, oh, yeah,
She dead.
dead. Oh.
Yeah. Yes, the Rex reveal is fantastic. I love the Rex and Ahsoka
Oh,
reunion.
yes.
Um,
Yes.
Seeing Rex and the clones made me so happy. I love that they were like just retired and like sand fishing and stuff. I was
Mhm.
just like, you know what? They're living the good life right now, man. Like,
Right?
they're they're like on a boat, like, fishing and just chilling until Wolf screws it up. Uh
Mm, mhm.
yeah. Yeah. Anyway, back
But
to
I thought that was interesting too, where
Mhm.
you still had the like and it's also the complexity of it. It's they're like dealing with like whether or not like the empire's relation to things and like
Mhm.
dealing with like how they're handling this group of people coming in and like asking
Mhm.
them to like join the rebellion like having to deal with that conflict and like it adds complexity to it to see that no matter what like chip removed or not like there's still this there's something so ingrained in them
Yeah.
that it still makes it challenging to deal with that situation and trust because trust is such a difficult thing in this period of time in Star
Yeah.
Wars like it's hard to trust certain people especially when you see actions that occurred in the past like with Kanan and with like Wolf it's like how do you build trust now when you
Yeah.
know when you had these ideas in your head in the past of how things were yeah it's
Yeah.
crazy crazy
Um I also want to give a shout out to D. Bradley Baker for sounding old when it came to Rex and the other clones.
oh yeah
He did an amazing job with that. Absolutely amazing job with that.
yeah
Um,
yeah
yeah, and I love seeing Old Man Rex. Old Man Rex is the best. Like he is just awesome.
yeah yeah for sure
Yeah.
uh
Yeah, go on.
see I also just love like to see the conflict, like, because like Kanan and Ezra's whole thing throughout too, is like, obviously one, he steps up more and accepts training Ezra, and Ezra opens up more, but you see here like it's still challenging for this point in time to balance what,
Yeah.
like what Kanan expects, like, and what Ezra needs. And that what really culminates in that is like the knighting scene. Because this whole season, Kanan is like, you're not focusing enough, you're not believing in yourself, you're not like doing it right. You're like, it's a lot of combat back and forth. But as the season progresses, we really see it's not just what a good Jedi is per se. It's more so just that fear of protection. And in that knighting scene, the reason, or maybe not the whole reason, but like one of the moment before he gets knighted is admitting like, I can't protect Ezra forever. What I can do is like teach him the best I can and
Mhm.
hope for the best. And like, and so it's really where Kanan comes to accept like, yeah, like I might be scared of what could happen in the future, but I have to accept that ultimately I can't fully control that. It's taking, because like he still carries that with him, and we'll get to
Mhm.
that when we talk about season 3, is it's a lot of like personal fear of failure in terms of himself
Mhm.
as well. And I feel like because of what he's seen happen between masters and Padawans in the past, and
Mhm.
like how that will impact Ezra versus him, and like getting to fully accept that, and we're not fully accept that because like he still deals with crap after Malachor, but to a point to be like, okay, I have to like step back and be like, okay, I need to give Ezra some more say, which obviously that becomes a challenging situation after Malachor, which we'll
Yeah.
talk about when we talk about season 3.
Yeah. I like even in season 2, I noticed with Kanan, he's a lot like how Qui-Gon was
Mhm.
when it comes to like his approach with training and everything. Because he's like, I'm not gonna teach you like the other Jedi taught people. Like he's
Mhm.
like, that's just not how I roll. Like,
Mhm.
um, I just feel like Qui-Gon had like a huge influence on Kanan as well.
Yeah.
Like when it came to like training and stuff. I don't know, that's just because I have a feeling like if Kanan had been a Jedi Master and the Council, you know, said something, Kanan would be like, no, I'm not doing that. Like, like, um,
Even, but even like if that wasn't necessarily the case, I think like also that's the impact of Order 66 in the
oh
war.
yeah, oh yeah,
Because obviously, like, when you're faced with a certain, like, because it's like also a survival complex
hmm
too. Um, because it's just the scene at the beginning of season 2, Kanan is immediately like, I don't want to be in a larger war. I
yeah,
didn't sign up for this. When we started our cause, it was rob from the Empire, give to the needy, a noble cause. Like it wasn't,
Robin Hood,
it wasn't like this larger score scale thing. And it's like and he tells Hera like, I saw like what war did, like, and then
mhm,
Hera's like, to the Jedi, and Kanan's like, no, to everyone.
yeah,
Like this isn't just Order 66, even this is like war. And I
yeah,
don't, it's a survival complex too for him, where he's like, he doesn't want to necessarily follow the traditional way of
hmm
things at first, because like he's seen how the traditional ways, like you said, like it might be more of that questioning that way in the end, which they talk a
hmm
lot about in season 4 when it comes to Saw Gerrera, is like, what is the way we fight,
yeah,
where they are, he's dealing with this idea of what is the way to fight, because like I saw that when the Jedi fought traditionally in a war, clearly that did not end well.
yeah,
So
yeah,
so it's really difficult for him to come to terms with like, will I am can I put myself in a military setting again? Like, can I
yeah,
follow a more traditional way of doing things? And
mhm,
I think what helps him with Hera too, and obviously we see Hera continue this beyond just Rebels, is he learns to see with Hera and with the other members, is even if they go into the military setting, that isn't fully going to control like everything for
yeah,
them. Like they still make their own choices, break some rules from time to time. So
mhm,
yeah, I know I just talked a lot, but I actually just had
No,
another
no.
thought. Can I go?
Yeah, yeah, no, go, go, go,
We
go. I'm
also
loving this. I'm loving this.
yeah,
Go for it.
I love this show. We also
Yeah,
see this, uh, where while he's willing to break the rules to protect others, he still follows
no, he
traditional
does.
Jedi ways,
He
and
does.
the protectors of Concord Dawn, um,
Mhm.
we see that very big in his differences with Sabine and how
Mhm.
Sabine wants to handle the conflict with the Mandalorians versus how Kanan wants to handle the conflict. Kanan is still very much playing that like Jedi kind of figurehead where
Yeah.
he's like, we're gonna be the peaceful negotiators. Um, and Sabine's like, these are Mandalorians. What do you mean peaceful negotiation? Um, like that's not the way my people go, especially these people. Like these people shot down Hera like without
Yeah.
like blinking an eye
Yeah.
so to see that even though Kanan has that survival complex that is challenging the ways he does things, he still holds on to some remnants of the Jedi and how he does things. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, hold on one second. But I also want to say like Kanan had to grow up real fast.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like he had to grow up real fast because the only like parental figure in his life died in front of him
Mhm.
like during Order 66. And so he had to grow up real fast. And I also love that A New Dawn talks about that as well, like how he like had to like kind of grow up fast. The
Mhm.
Kanan comic talks more about it, but A New Dawn does a really good job with it. But um yeah, I love the conflict that Kanan has, but he's also like trying to adapt to this militaristic style, but he's also trying to keep his family. Like he wants to keep his
Exactly.
family.
Right.
And he's like his comfort zone is Lothal. As long as he's on Lothal, as long as he's with his people on Lothal and they're just being a nuisance to the empire, dude is good. Like he's fine. It's not until like crap hits the fan where he's like, "Oh, yeah, no,
Right.
I guess I have to now." Like,
Well, it's also seeing the scale of it, I think, for him.
yeah.
Because before they leave to extract Tua, he's very much he has that scene with Hera I talked about. He's very
Mhm.
much, I can't get in the war. It's the
Yeah.
conflict with Vader on Lothal that really like triggers something
Yeah.
because what happens is they are framed for Tua's death
Yeah.
and they are pretty much driven off of Lothal. They're like you said, their comfort. They're driven
Yeah.
away from their comfort zone. They have to
Mhm.
leave because like they were working to turn the people against them and they're not safe there anymore.
Yeah.
So it's really like seeing the stakes of it, seeing like, oh my gosh, we just got like framed for murder and there's a Sith Lord, like and and it's also like but like the reason I bring up survival complex and maybe like why part of it might be reliance on like certain ways of doing things is
Yeah.
because Ezra goes, "How do we fight him?" And Kanan
Yeah.
goes, "We were lucky to survive." Like fight him? No, Ezra, we were lucky to survive that encounter.
Yeah.
So like really, for him, he is aware of the stakes, and I think that's
Mhm.
what is such a complex thing for him is as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I season 2 is a lot about Kanan's growth.
Oh, it is for
Um,
sure, for sure.
um, and especially like going in. I mean, pretty much all three remaining seasons, Kanan's growing.
Kanan is
And
just there's
yeah,
a reason he's one of my top characters of the start of the Disney era. Like
yeah, yeah,
Kanan.
yeah.
Yes.
Because he gets a lot of character development, and it is so well deserved and so well earned. Um, but I also love that in season two, one of the things that we talked about with season one is that they do a good job at splitting the team up and giving them like different like side missions to do. Like
Yeah.
you get you'd get
Like, you
like
brought up the Hondo thing, like, that's
yeah,
just
yeah,
it's all
the Hondo thing.
yeah.
The Hondo thing is amazing. Especially like when he's dealing with that arms dealer and the arms dealer says something and then Hondo just says, "Well, come on, let's leave your wife out of this."
Just love
Like I love it. I love I love it. And like you could
it.
not ask for a better voice actor for Hondo than Jim Cummings because like he's just on the ball with it.
Yeah.
But like Hondo, like I love the Hondo story. I love is season 2 the one with the Melu run too?
That's season 1.
That's season 1, okay. But that's another one of my favorites is the Melu run with Ezra and Zeb.
Yeah.
Um, like, I love when they split the team up, but then, like, they're like, "Yeah, they're gonna do their own thing for a little bit," but at the end of the episode, they're gonna come together and they're all gonna be like, "Okay, well, what did we learn today?" Like,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, for
um,
sure.
but we also get a lot more of Ahsoka in season 2 as well, like, she becomes
Mhm.
more of a prominent character. We
Mhm.
get the growth of Callus in
Can we
season
talk about the
2.
honorable ones? I wanna talk about the honorable
Go! Do it!
Oh my god. Like, for real, y'all, honestly, maybe even over Canara, Kaluzeb, I'm
Yeah.
obsessed, too
Cahuza.
obsessed, over obsessed.
Oh, real quick, John says Kanan sounds, like a tired, disappointed dad in those moments. He does, he does, he does.
Yeah, no, but, like,
Yeah,
I like, my obsession, it's insane, it's actually insane to me. Like I
mm,
said, I've not written or
Caluzeb.
read as much fic as I have Callus and Sam. Um, no, but because, like, it's just so powerful to see a character, like, so caught up in propaganda and so
Mhm.
and deeply hurting a protagonist so much
Yeah,
to see that character. I see a scene where these 2 characters, like you said, they're isolated
yeah,
from everything and everyone else. They're isolated with each other, and they have to have these talks, and the fact that they have talks, like, they don't just sit on the moon and be like, "Guess we'll just wait till someone
yeah,
shows up." Like, they actually spend the time to talk with each other and share their different sides of things.
yeah,
Kellis opens up about his past on Onderon and with the Lasat mercenary and how that impacted him and maybe even like his perception of Lasat. Like Zeb says, you can't like think all Lasats are the same, and but
yeah,
he gets to hear that Callus directly had a bad experience with Lasat and also experienced like losing, kind of like Zeb lost the Lasat people. Callus experienced losing his entire like team he went to Onderon with.
yeah,
Um, so getting to see that he's been hurt too in the past. And then like I mentioned earlier, Callus admits like I it wasn't supposed to be like a massacre. Like I know the Empire was making an example, but I know I took credit for it before. Like he pretty much not like he doesn't like directly say I'm sorry, but he still opens up to he owns up and opens up to the fact that like the way he handled the situation before may not have been like the most like the
yeah,
best like the how he got caught up in the propaganda. He really owns up to that.
yeah,
Um, and also it's just to see Zeb hold him accountable still throughout the episode, but also recognize not necessarily a fully open door. I don't want to say obviously, but like to some degree, he shows Callus that their side is open to that idea that like he says like you can't think about Lasada the same and like Cal's like you can does that apply to Imperials and like Callus is like I don't know about that, buddy. But like, but ultimately he says like maybe you should start asking questions of the Empire. Like maybe
yeah,
you should go back and like why do you think they did this? Well, you might believe that this is what they want to do, but like why? Like maybe you need to ask questions.
yeah,
And also just ultimately, um demonstrates to Callus that like while he's still hurt by Lasan, he it won't be the end all be all for him. Like
yeah,
he recognizes that like yeah it hurts and I this is something between the two of them. It's like this whole idea of what they need to process is like our past hurts and will always hurt, but it doesn't like define everything. Like it doesn't define us.
mhm,
um and we can ask questions, we can work past that, we can take steps to help people now, like we could like for example, that's like why how the series ends. It's like those saw people aren't dead, and like we can just like we can protect them now and like do our best to like stand
Yeah.
up for people in need now. um like we aren't always defined by the past and by the propaganda.
Mhm.
So it's just really like holding Callus accountable while opening the door up for him to like find growth on his own as well.
Yeah.
Because it's not like he expects Callus to immediately like just be like, "Oh my god, screw the Empire." But like he leaves the door open for Callus to take the time to possibly, if he chooses to possibly go and question everything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I also love that episode because you start to see the path of forgiveness for both of them opening up.
exactly.
Um because like they just really just they really open up to each other, and they really you really start to see that bond form.
Mm.
And I just love it because it's at that point that's the start of Callus's turning point, like right there. And that's when you really start to be like, oh, Callus isn't that bad of a dude. Like and then your heart breaks for Zeb. Like your heart breaks for Zeb, but
Yeah,
like in the best way possible. And even your heart breaks for Callus. And I just, oh man,
exactly.
I
Well,
love
it's
it.
like you have to realize like it's to see that's the humanization you mentioned too. It's
Mhm.
like it's because obviously, and that's why I like that he owned up to how he acted in season one, because like it's important for him to recognize that he can't just justify everything with
Yeah,
the empire and propaganda.
yeah,
But he ultimately we still see that he was a victim of the propaganda. And Zeb acknowledges that, and Zeb's like, that's why you need to ask questions, buddy, like because you I understand that you believe in the Empire's cause right now, but you ultimately that doesn't like I can't just like you mentioned like the seeds of forgiveness. Like I can't just forgive you because you are like trapped in the mindset of the Empire. I need you to still like go ask questions and like you
yeah,
still need to challenge that perception. But he
yeah.
still, like you said, our hearts break for Callus because we still understand. We hear what happened to him on Onderon. We understand
Mhm.
he's been through trauma. We understand he does have a belief that they're just trying to protect the galaxy. Like because you have to like for example, like when they're questioning like not all Lasats are the same. Like you have to realize like maybe at a point when Callus is so young and so caught up in the propaganda, he's maybe thinking, "Oh my god, I see a Lasat kill my entire group, and
Yeah,
now I have to be like, oh my gosh, is that all Lasats? Like, is the reason the Empire like wiping Lasan is because like maybe they're all just gonna kill all of us? So
yeah,
you realize like you can see maybe why Callus got so like caught up in
yeah,
like, oh my gosh, like I have to do these things to for the secure safety and security of the empire. But like then when he goes back and he asks the questions, like it's not like directly shown to us, unfortunately, because like a
mhm,
lot of the perspective is through the Ghost Crew and not Callus outside of like through Imperial eyes.
yeah,
But it's very largely implied that Callus does ask questions. Like he does go
yeah,
back, he asks the questions, he finds answers he doesn't like, and that's furthers his journey. And that's
yeah.
I love Callus's journey so much. It's so good.
Yeah, his journey is incredible. And I love that it like really starts at that moment with Zeb. And it also, lays the foundation for their may or may not romance. Like who knows? I still think they got married.
I
I still think they
I am so nervous for the future content. I swear to crapping crap, they better be married. Or even if they're not married, I swear if we like never see Callus again, I'm going to actually like show up to look at some headquarters and start crying in front of Leona Fountain.
I I really want him to be in the Mandalorian and Grogu
Right,
movie.
exactly. That's what
Like
I'm saying. Like,
like
please,
just show him like with
pull them together.
like Zeb's like walking out the door, and like you just hear this, okay, bye honey. And then it's just like it's like Callus just like cleaning a dish or something, like with a dish rag.
No.
They better be together in Ahsoka or the Mando movie.
Oh
I
my
want
god.
them to be together.
Oh my
I want
god.
them to
It's
be
so
together.
I love that. Oh my
Yeah.
god.
Yeah, like he's just like cleaning a dish or whatever, has like an apron on or something.
Oh,
I think it'd be great. I think it would be great because you know what? Callus would do dishes like that, and tell me he wouldn't. Um, any well, I mean, keep going because I'm loving these. I'm just loving you picking a few of these episodes to break down at a time as we
I
celebrate.
so I'm gonna mainly focus on Sabine in 3 and 4
Okay.
because I'm
Okay.
gonna say so much about Sabine in season 3 and 4, but I do
Yeah.
wanna quickly talk a bit more about Hera before we move on to Twilight the Apprentice.
Yes.
I so for Hera, we see this is in season 2, it's the episode with Cham. Well, the first one,
Yes.
there's more in 3 with Cham. But this really, oh my gosh, and I'm so glad we got Hera and Bad Batch. Oh my god, I still to this day forget that was a thing because like
It-
some days I'm like, oh my god, wait, like wait, like oh my god, wait, we did see young Hera.
and it makes so much more sense to have her in there.
Oh my god, exactly.
Yeah.
But like to see the beginning seeds of that in this, where Hera's dream to fly, kind of similar to oh my god, I'm so excited to talk about Bad Batch with you. You're like not even like you don't even know. Um,
No. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
to
I'll make that
see,
announcement here
to
soon.
see like
What?
Hera Hera's journey with like flying and how that love for that desire to fly becomes like her drive to also help the rebellion. Like
Yeah.
amazing. Like not only the scene with the episode with Cham, but also like tying in the episode where she go with Quarry and when she gets the new ship to break the
Yeah.
blockade. Those two episodes, to see her love of flying and also just with the one with Cham to see the conflict there. Because like I kind of talked about how Hera is kind of a flip in terms of the way they handle things in terms of because Hera, she out of all of them gets very wrapped up in coping with the cause.
Yeah.
In terms of because what happens is her father becomes so focused only on Ryloth that Hera wants, Hera wants to help everyone, not just Ryloth.
Yeah.
And it's challenging for her because in this conflict, like she wants to help her father, obviously, but she doesn't. It's hard for her because she feels like he isn't appreciating or understanding what she is doing.
Yeah.
Because for her, her father sees her as a failure for doing anything but only helping Ryloth. And I think that was just to see like because like genuinely I think for her it's just genuinely a wanting some approval because like that matters to us like from our parents is to like to see them appreciate and understand like the things we're trying to do to like make a difference or help people and it's so hard that she is helping people but because she's just not only helping Ryloth to Cham it isn't enough or it isn't right
Yeah.
so it's I love those
Yeah.
episodes.
John points out in chat one of the Twi'lek fighters with Cham is Nuna from Clone Wars, and she's wearing Boyle's armor.
Yes.
Sorry for interrupting, but I had to share that
No,
fact.
no,
No,
do
no, it's
it, do
awesome.
it.
It's awesome.
Yes,
It's awesome.
yes, go on.
If you are looking for a good Cham Syndulla story, quick side note, highly recommend Lords of the Sith because dude is
Mhm.
prominent in that book.
Yes. Okay.
Um, but yeah, I love oh man, Hera's character development in season 2 is just awesome and she becomes more of a space mom too.
Exactly, that is space mom, that is mother, like,
Yeah.
she is my, like, second mom forever and always.
Like like if you were just having a bad day, like she would just wrap you up in a hug. Like
Exactly!
yeah,
I
yeah,
love her.
yeah.
She's the best.
Joey is in chat saying yo ho ho. Oh, okay, yo ho ho. Okay. Gotcha. I was like, what? I thought he was saying haha. Yeah. Anyway. Um but yeah, like so Twilight of the Apprentice hits. This is also when we started getting hey Chris, what's going on? This is when we started getting shorter seasons for Rebels as well.
Mhm.
Because um they had a limited runtime for for it. So Twilight of the Apprentice is the finale?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Have
I'm so,
you
sorry.
not watched Rebels and Hunting?
No, no, I have watched Rebels, and I've watched it a couple
I
of
know you've
times.
watched it, but like,
I've watched it a couple of times. I started a rewatch before this, so
okay,
yeah,
gotcha. All
yeah,
good,
yeah.
it's all good.
I'm
Um,
sorry. Like a lot of it runs together. A
that's
lot
all
of it
good.
does.
That is understandable. It's
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
But yeah, Twilight the Apprentice is really where I want to talk about Ezra because we kind of talked about everyone. I said I'm going to talk about Sabine like next season.
yeah.
But so for Ezra, ha ha, Ezra, poor sweet innocent blueberry. Um, uh,
Who loves Buffalo Wild Wings?
which is Buffalo, not sponsored, but sponsored. Oh, no, I'm just kidding. No, not sponsored. Um, yeah, Ezra with his Buffalo Wild Wings in hand, wanders on the mountain for her, and so throughout. I'm gonna call back to season one. I'm actually gonna plug an edit I made because I'm very proud of it. I made an
Yeah,
edit,
go.
a Star Wars Rebels edit to the song "The Like a Prayer" from Deadpool and Wolverine. It's on my TikTok, and it focuses on like Ezra, particularly, and what the scene that I really like threaded in the beginning of that edit is the scene where he gets this Kyber crystal, because that's like where he really opens up to Yoda about
Yeah,
how his big drive is like wanting to help people because like I
yeah,
said, like, that's what he recognized his parents did, and that's what his new family reminded him, and he's like when he opens up to Yoda, is he also is very open in the vulnerable side of it for him, which is
yeah.
what he deals with in season when we get angst. I call him angsty Ezra. When we get angsty Ezra,
We
uh,
we get we get
um,
angsty.
so when we get angsty Ezra later, but also it begins in these early seasons where I really see Ezra and Hera are like the most like outward. I feel like
Yeah,
not to defend them, but like for me, like Kanan and Sabine shut down a lot more.
they
Um,
do.
and Sabine Hera throws herself in the cause, and Ezra gets very emotion heavy in terms of helping people. He is faced with like a lot of that. I feel like he feels a lot of not only guilt, we kind of jumped over legacy, but like not only with what happened to his parents, but also uh generally like that fear of because his failure is as much Kanan's like in terms of
Yeah,
protection, but I think for him, because he has the chance to fight in a way that his parents no longer get to. He puts a lot on his shoulders, I feel like, with protecting his new family. And not only protecting his new family, but as we get into talking about season three, also the larger scale rebellion as well.
yeah.
But what happens is, which we'll talk about more when we get to talking about season three, is he puts trust in Maul, probably the worst person to put trust.
Yeah,
The innocent blueberry
yeah,
puts trust in Maul.
yeah. But
Mm.
I will say, what a character to bring back, though. What a
Ah,
character to bring back.
literally. Oh my god, it's so good. It's so good. Like
Yeah.
honestly, every time they bring him back, and that's why I think like which we could talk about maybe a bit when we talk about season three. I
Mhm.
think that's why Twin Sons was such a polarizing episode
I love
because
Twin
Maul
Sons.
is just such a good character that when Twin Sons happened, I think that's why people were so conflict heavy over it because they're like, how could you just like toss a character like that? But I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that belief. I love Twin Sons.
You
Um,
don't toss
but
a character at all in that episode. Like he's
right, no,
incredible in that
I mean by
episode.
like him die spoiler
Oh yeah,
dying
yeah.
yeah, but I don't I think that's a powerful scene and I don't agree with those fans that say that shouldn't have happened, but I ultimately think that's why it was such a visceral reaction is because when he comes back he's so awesome, like when he comes back in season 7 too in Clone Wars, phenomenal. I love it so much, like it's so good.
That quick sidebar. That fight between Maul and Ahsoka in the
Ah,
finale is
it's so good, it's so
it's
good,
amazing.
it's
It's
amazing.
amazing.
Yes.
Yeah. Um. Yeah, but I love that Ezra just puts his trust in Maul, and we're like, really, dude? Like, all right, let's see how this plays out. Like,
Right. And that's what Maul does. Maul
Mhm.
plays on all of Ezra's fears and all of Ezra's insecurities
Yeah,
throughout the next 2 seasons. It's like throughout this episode and through season 3.
yeah.
He really, like, really gets in Ezra's head, uses that fear of wanting like, that need to protect people and says, like, "You
Mhm.
wanna protect people? Do this for me, like, do that." Like, everything Maul wants to accomplish, he accomplishes through Ezra's own fears. It's just so sad, like, that Ezra gets used like that. It makes my heart break. I hate it.
Mhm.
Oh my god. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, but this episode too, Vader and Ahsoka. Vader and Ahsoka. It's so good. It's so good. I love it. I love
Yeah, it's a badass episode. It is such a
badass.
badass episode. Um, yeah, and then this is also when we get Blind Kanan.
Oh my god. Traumatizing. And that is what happens though. This is why we get angsty Ezra. Ezra fights so hard to protect people, does everything, puts his trust in someone. This is the two things. He puts his trust in someone when he started the show, not wanting to open it up and trust others, and he fights super hard to protect people, which he believed is the right thing that he was taught, like Hera reminded him is the right thing to do. And he loses. He faces his exact fear coming true. His trust in someone is shattered because of what Maul does, and Kanan pays the cost for his own trust in
Yeah.
Maul, his own
Yeah.
actions. And that's why we get angsty Ezra. Oh no.
Vader saying Ahsoka in Anakin's voice, and Ahsoka saying she won't
That's
leave
what
him
I'm
again, and
saying.
Vader saying
Oh god.
she'll die. Oh yeah,
When that
it's
mask gets cut open, oh my I died.
and I love that we. Another quick side note: love that we got a throwback to that in Kenobi.
Oh, yes.
Love that we
Yeah.
got a throwback to that. Um, yeah. There's an important character that also shows up in season 3 that I think we really, really need to talk about, and that is the Bendu,
Oh my gosh, yes.
aka the Fourth Doctor, Tom Baker, playing the Bendu. Um, I love the Bendu.
Mhm.
I love the Bendu, especially with his back and forth with Kanan.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I love their back and forth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, 'cause I oh my gosh, I still, to this day, like, that scene when Kanan like that back and forth between them, and because this is the thing. So, like I said, Kanan is being shut down, Hera and Ezra wake up, like, when
Yeah.
Malachor happens, Ezra becomes super self-reliant, throws himself in the cause, does whatever he needs to, like, accomplish missions. Kanan draws back. Kanan
Yeah.
shuts down, Kanan reserves him like, pulls himself out of it, because I think, like, for him, he really feels like his presence would only like hurt them because like I
Yeah.
think like because he learned that he has to like he can't protect Ezra forever and he has to let Ezra make his own choices. But I
Yeah.
think when he saw the cost of Malachor and how it affected like Ezra from what he did see, is he realized like maybe the best thing for Ezra and for everyone is if I
Yeah.
just don't get involved. Because like what happens in that scene with the spiders is like he admits that he's like anger, fear, grief. That's like how they see me. That's how I see myself. Like that that line where he finally opens up and admits like his whole perception of himself is why like this isn't just about Ezra. That's the thing. Like because like when he first ignites his lightsaber in front of the spiders, he goes Ezra, and then he realizes it's not even about Ezra. Like this isn't
Mhm.
even like Ezra anymore. Like I thought a lot of my fear and my anxiety came from Ezra, but it's also myself. It's also this is like the time he really opens up about his own place in
Yeah.
things and his own perception of himself and how that's impacting his actions. And it's just, oh yeah, you were right. That scene with Bendu and how he opens up and gives those two the space to really like recognize their own flaws and recognize the need to reconcile is just oh, it's so good. It's so
Hey,
good.
Scarif. Yeah. Happy Rebels anniversary. Yes, happy
Yeah.
Rebels anniversary.
Rebels.
Um, I love, oh man, that whole thing with the Bendu and how he teaches Kanan to be Kanan again. Like
Yes.
he teaches him
Exactly.
how to be Kanan again, and I love it. Oh,
Yeah.
so good. Um, shall we get to
Oh gosh.
your favorite bits now?
Oh no.
Especially
I
one.
feel like I'm already talking so much though. Is there anything about season 3 you want to talk about first?
Um,
Or I talk for
so
like 5 hours?
I will say this. I think that I like that season three. Okay, so there's a couple of things. The Bendu is a character that is underappreciated. Absolutely,
Exactly.
absolutely.
Yes. Yes.
Um, but I will say this. I love the introduction of Thrawn in season three. I think they nailed him perfectly. I love that he is a menace to them. But you also see, like, especially now, like we've read like the Ascendancy trilogy and like all this other stuff, like seeing all of Thrawn's motivations like outside of the Empire. Oh, it makes me love Thrawn like even more in Rebels because he's so damn good.
Yeah.
Um, love the introduction of Thrawn. I love that they ramp up the stakes of what is going on, but
Yeah.
I also love that season 3 because season 3, like, they kinda take a step back a little bit, and, like,
Mm.
they allow the story just to, like, breathe for just a little bit. You get a little bit of a lull in season 3, but it's, like, a well-earned lull because you're just like, "Oh, okay, like, this isn't that bad." Like, when you had the droid infiltrate the base, like, that is such a fun episode because of just, like, it's Chopper and like this other dude and like they're trying to figure out what's going on and it's fun.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah.
but then like you get a lot of heavy episodes in season 3, especially like the one where I mean you get a lot of heavy episodes like Twilight of the Apprentice. I mean like the season 3 premiere and all this other stuff.
Mhm.
That like when you do get to those quiet moments it does feel good. I love okay.
Oh. Oh no.
So there's one thing, okay, because we're gonna dive into this now,
Okay.
especially with um Sabine being trained to use the dark saber.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna say this real quick because I have to tie this into Ahsoka,
Okay.
and I know how much you love Sabine, and if I say something, I don't mean it to upset anybody, but I really wish they hadn't made her force sensitive in Ahsoka because they don't allude to it in Rebels at all. But I get it. Ahsoka came after Rebels and like they're trying to set something up. But I just feel like
Okay, here's what I'll say. Here's what I'll say.
yeah. You
So,
go ahead because I'm
um
not trying to step on any toes.
no, no,
I'm
no,
not
no.
trying to
Okay.
step on any toes.
No, no, no. So, um, the when I did talked about Sabine on the podcast, one of the questions we got, like on my podcast,
Yeah,
so one of the questions we got was whether we thought Sabine was force sensitive. Um, and I think I've always fallen into the idea, like this was before Ahsoka came out. My podcast started in 2018, so this was like
yeah,
long.
yeah.
I've always been because like we have I've always been of the belief of like because like the force resides in all living creatures.
Yeah,
Um
yeah,
and
yeah,
so,
yeah.
so the big things I always noticed as a kid watching Rebels was I feel like I don't know, it's so hard for me to describe. Um she and maybe this is just really good perception, but I always feel like she's really in tune with people in a way that some of the other characters weren't,
Yeah,
especially with Ezra. And then also when she's training with the dark saber, she says the blade feels lighter, and Kanan says you're connecting with it. It's becoming a part of you.
yeah,
And while that can be seen as maybe just like a traditional, oh my god, carrying a lightsaber, blah blah blah. But
yeah,
like I always saw it as maybe a sign of that, a bit of that force sensitivity in maybe the fact that maybe unlike someone like, for example, Zed picking up a lightsaber, like unlike that, maybe she has some openness to it in the sense
Mhm.
of um being able to make that extra connection to the sword per se.
Yeah.
And also I also saw it like in the sense that a lot of the discussions that Kanan and Hera have in that episode is I think even Kanan like can see it maybe per se in a
Mhm.
little bit because like I think what what he talks to Ezra a bit, and this is something I'm going to bring up with the way they're trained and how it's different. Is these two children were very both very closed off. Ezra
Yeah.
didn't want to connect with low cats at first; he was very closed off. But what Kanan found with Ezra is it was very much like taking giving Ezra the space to
Yeah.
take the steps. With Sabine, Kanan realized it had to be a lot more like action into it in the sense that because he's like with Ezra, like Ezra did the forms and Ezra did this and Ezra did that. It's recognizing that Sabine and Ezra are different people. Like
Yeah.
Ezra might be more open to to that, but it's just getting that reassurance and faith of people caring. For
Yeah.
her, it's not just, oh, we want to train you, Sabine. And they all stand there in the beginning of the episode, like, oh, Sabine, we believe in you. But like first Hera reminds Kanan, she's like, remember how like long it took for her to trust us like when we first met her, like remember how she has this whole like past that she hasn't like fully like accept like she's processing. And I think like he's able to see a bit of his own self in that, I think,
Mhm.
like Kanan's own self in the sense that like, and I think that's why they connect, their connection is so interesting between 2 and 3 and they're learning about each other is they find some own common ground in the sense that they both have past
Yeah.
that they need to recognize. And I think for him in that episode, it was realizing like, oh, she is just kind of like how Ezra couldn't connect to Loth cats. She also needs to be given an outlet to connect. And that's why when he brings up her connecting with the sword,
Yeah.
um, that was like a sign for me because I'm like, oh, in this process of using this sword, she is opening herself up in a way she hasn't before. Because like that's when she starts like spilling out, spilling out everything.
Yeah.
Like when Kanan confronts her with things, makes comments about her past, and Sabine fights it. I just saw that as Sabine opening. So I'm not necessarily saying it's the same. Obviously, maybe they're not on like the
Mhm.
same level of force sensitivity, but I always like drew that parallel between Sabine and Ezra in terms of that,
Yeah.
in the sense of they were both possibly very cut off from it in the past, and it was the ways they needed to open up that allowed them to better connect with the force and that
Yeah.
connection.
No, I get it. I get it. No, I you bring a good argument of why she should
That's
be
where I
force
stand on
sensitive.
it. But
No, 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 no. I actually love that. I love it. So we start to get the training in the dark saber, and we start to see them try to take back Mandalore from the Empire. Um, I think this is a better attempt at taking back Mandalore than we got in a live action show.
we don't need to get into that
No, no,
again.
no,
Oh
no,
my
no, no, no.
goodness. No,
Oh,
anyone can like go listen to that episode we did on that finale. They don't need to hear that all again right now.
um,
Oh my god.
but like the meat of season 3 definitely deals with the Mandalorians and the
Yeah,
dark
3 and
saber.
the beginning of 4, because, like, beginning
Yeah,
of 4 is, like, really, like, that take back, more so. But 3
yeah,
is really, like, for Sabine, it's her family.
yeah.
Um,
I
and
love her family.
See, I struggled with them at first just because, like, just the way I phrased it last time I guessed it on Rebels, I was like, I'm just very protective of Ezra, and I literally like little, I think I was like 19 or 20 at the time I recorded that. I was like, "You mess with my little character, you mess with me." Like, like I'm so cute, my little like teenager voice, no.
You mess with you, man.
Mess with me, you mess with me. Like, yeah. Like so it was hard for me to see her family because like you have to
Yeah,
realize like when she opens up in Trials of the Darksaber, which I do want to talk about that episode a bit more. Um, she opens up
go
in that
for it.
episode. She opens up to the fact that that her family chose the Empire.
Mhm.
So it was hard for me at first with the family. Like, I obviously like getting to see them grow and, like, especially in 4, because 3 they were hard because like, they weren't as receptive to her. They weren't as receptive to her going back in 0 hour. But ultimately, like family, like it's those family conflicts. Like obviously same thing with Cham, and that's something like that that these like later seasons did with like 3 with Cham and 4
Mhm.
with the Wrens is you get to see them find some level of healing with their families. And I did appreciate that. And I think for me, like if I'm talking too much, just let me know. Uh,
No, you're fine. I'm
okay.
loving this. I'm loving this. It's
So
great to have a
so
Rebels fan.
yeah, so kind of what I mentioned with, like, into, with, with oh my gosh, I'm struggling, I'm just getting emotional.
You're good.
Um,
You're good.
Getting into, like, Trust the Darksaber, I just get really emotional about this episode, because, like, it's so because like I said, when I watched those season 1 episodes and season 2 episodes and seeing that conflict brewing with her, getting to, like, fully hear what it was so powerful to see that vulnerability from her,
Mhm.
and I think that is why I love her so much as a character. Like I said before, is I am someone who's very similar to her, where I will often shut down. I will often shut down, and when I have my trials with the dark saber moment, it is like that, where I just everything will come out because I will hold things in and,
Yeah.
like, try to deal with it internally and be scared to be open about my past and what's happened, and then when it comes out in that vulnerable way where you have to just, like, let it out in such a way where they are, like, all surprised because like I said, she clearly, like, held all of this in for so
Mhm.
long, and none of them when she says "brother" and Ezra's like, "What? You have a brother?" Like, she did not, like, share anything about her
Mhm.
past because it was that sensitive of, like, a subject for her.
Yeah.
Um, and then to have it to be too that it's not just that she worked with the Empire in the past, but it's the fact that she built a weapon that they used on her own people, and
Yeah.
then her family chose the Empire when she spoke out. She made the choice to actively speak out against the Empire and speak out against what they were doing and
Yeah.
support her people, and then they turned against her. And that's
Yeah.
why it was so frustrating too in season 4 when they were like, "Traitor, like how dare you? You built this weapon." Like, and that's why she really has to come to terms with too is like people are still angry with her, obviously, like, she's
Yeah.
still angry with herself, and that's the issue too is, like, she struggles to confront that because when she did confront it, when she did try to speak up and support her people, they chose the Empire. They
Yeah.
couldn't see past the Empire and what sense of security they could give to the Mandalorian people, which
What?
obviously was not
What?
good, and they chose the Empire over her, and that was so hard, and, like, to see her have to admit that,
Mm.
and that's why in the end of the episode, it's powerful because what they tell her is, "We don't" like, they basically are like, "We don't know what will happen, Sabine. We don't know what will happen. We don't
Yeah.
know if your family will forgive you or if your people will join you, but this family will stand by you no matter what you choose."
Yeah.
For her, it's that reminder that no matter what happens with her family in these next few episodes, it is that this family that she has made will always be by her side, and that was
Mhm.
extremely powerful for her to hear after having a family abandon her.
Yeah, and it goes back to that whole thing where family just isn't blood. It's who you actually like.
Yeah,
Yeah. Um, and they're not related by blood in any way, shape, or form, but they form such an amazing family group.
yeah.
Um, and it's just, oh
I
man.
also gotta say,
Yeah,
Legacy
go.
of Mandalore, when Ezra's meeting her family, I love how he's just so he's so positive and bubbly, and then they just keep pulling blasters on him. And
It,
Ezra's just like, "Whoa, like, I'm just trying to be friends with y'all." Like,
it's also like a boyfriend meeting his girlfriend family for the first
thank
time,
you, thank you, yes. So
and
true.
and they're just like, who the hell's this guy? Like,
Right, 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 exactly. Oh my god. Oh my god,
uh,
and it just, like, oh, and the vulnerability and trust, like, when Ezra throws
mhm,
the lightsaber to oh, just I
yeah.
love them, I love them.
John says Sabine had such an emotional scene when she shared her past with Kanan and allowed herself to be vulnerable. Kudos to her actress for the delivery. Yeah,
Yes,
Taya,
yes, oh my
yeah,
god.
yeah,
It's so good,
she
it's
is
so good.
amazing. And then Joey says, well put,
Thank
Allie."
you.
Yes.
I have a lot of feelings.
I mean, this is like I'm gonna get this emotional when we talk about the Bad Batch. Like I'm gonna
Oh,
get
for
that
sure.
emotional. Um, like I, I mean, just Sabine's character arc throughout all of Rebels is just beautiful and just she really grows into her own and she really like um gets that burden like she handles that burden of leadership as well as she can.
Yeah.
And she does go through a lot of setbacks throughout the last 2 seasons of Rebels, but she grows so much um throughout those last 2 seasons, and it's just it's so
Mm.
good. It's so good.
Yeah.
Um
And not to jump ahead to 4, because there's a few more things I wanna talk about 3,
yeah, yeah, go ahead.
but while we're on the note of Sabine and Mandalore, because, like, obviously, like I said, season 4 starts with the Sabine and Mandalore stuff, and I think
Yeah.
it's just a good time to pull it in because 'cause we're already talking about it,
Yeah.
uh, is that when we get to talking about, like, the dark saber, again, plugging that other episode, we're not gonna talk about Mandalorian right now,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
but, uh with this series at this moment in time, like only talking about Rebels, not talking about Mandalorian. Um, I just loved like you said, how she's able to be a leader, but she's also able to recognize the strength of other leaders.
Mhm.
In the sense that like she stands up for her people, she speaks out, she fights back. But she also recognizes her own flaws. She
Yeah,
recognizes the other powerful leaders around her. Like when she this is the thing too, is like one of her like kind of Sabine and Ezra mean so much to me because like what happens is they ultimately get faced with some of their biggest fears and then they have to work through them and
mhm,
they don't always handle it. And this is what's so amazing about like not even just flawed characters but complex characters.
yeah,
Both of these kids, they don't always handle their fears the right way. They don't always handle challenging situations the right way off the bat.
yeah,
But the important thing is they learn from those situations, they adapt and they grow. And that happens to Sabine in this episode because when faced with the weapon directly, at
yeah,
first, she shoots her down, but, like, then when she gets the opportunity, she is using the weapon against the Empire, and she's like,
mhm,
"This is what you get, this is what you deserve," and Bo-Katan has to pull her back and be like, "That's not our way. Like,
yeah,
we that's their way, that's not our way. We're
yeah,
not gonna, like, stoop to their level." Um, and Bo-Katan's leadership and Bo-Katan's mentorship is what helps pull Sabine out of that, and
yeah,
and remind Sabine that, like, my anger and my hurt is real, but I can't like
mhm,
Bo-Katan is saying, I can't, like, just take it out in that way. And then she recognizes when she passes the dark saber, this is why I love Rebels and screw Mandalorian. Um, because this was one of the first times we saw the darksaber passed in a non-traditional way, and
yeah,
I've written extensively about this. I have an article on What the Force, their podcast page about the darksaber.
mhm,
So I'll plug that for more thoughts. But um, what I'll say here is she passes the dark saber to Bo-Katan in the ideas of what is needed best to lead Mandalore. It is
absolutely.
not it is the idea that strength doesn't only come from combat, like the traditional way passing the dark saber, but it also comes from what Bo-Katan did, standing up, helping Sabine see the best way to lead and
Yeah,
to move forward with the Empire and the Mandalorians and how they were handling things. And Sabine recognized that and said, I see, like, I acknowledge what I was able to do and what I did, but you also I see what you did and how you stepped up and how
mhm,
you were vulnerable, and I know that you have your own, like, things with your past with the Mandalorian people, but I believe in you as a leader, and I believe they will believe in you as well. And I just that always meant so much to me in that scene, that they were willing to take a risk and pass the dark saber in a way that wasn't just let's just fight it out like
Yeah.
sticks.
I
Yeah.
love that, like, one of, like, the prerequisites for, like, passing the dark saber in this non-traditional way is
Mhm.
character. Like, you're judging that person by their
Exactly.
character and by their actions, and not just about their combat. It's about, like, what
Well,
their
that's
goals are.
yeah. Well, that's what I'm talking about in my article is I
Yeah.
went off of the line, when they first talk about how the dark sabers pass, it's talked about as only the strongest shall rule is what they say.
Mhm.
And that is what I talk about in my article. Strength doesn't just come from pew pew pew. It also
Yeah,
comes from within, from character,
yeah,
from a person.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Before we jump to season 4 real quick, I
Yeah.
do wanna talk about Twin Sons.
Well, I said I have
Um,
more I want to talk about 3 too. 3 is just such a
yeah.
meaty season. Like there's so much in it.
3
Like,
is a meaty season.
yeah.
Um, I love Twin Sons. I think it's an amazing episode.
Yes.
I love Darth Maul's final moments, especially when Obi-Wan is holding him in his arms as he's dying. Um,
Yeah.
and then, like, you start to see a little bit of Maul's redemption, like, in
Oh,
that final moment. It's
yeah.
so good. It's
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 so
so
good.
good. Um, yeah, so we're gonna dive into the final season of Rebels. Rebels sadly only went 4 seasons.
Yeah. Can I say one more thing about Twin Sons real quickly?
Yeah,
Yeah.
go.
So Ezra in this episode too, to like kind of tie up the Maul stuff as well. And first off with Obi-Wan and Maul, like you said, with that moment, it's also like it's that vulnerability he sees where like after everything he like put Obi-Wan through, Obi-Wan holds him in the end. Like but literally like to see your enemy like still like be with you in the end. Like, oh damn, it's just so good.
Like, Obi-Wan forgives him.
Exactly, like,
Yeah,
it's so powerful, and then
yeah.
also with Ezra, it really ties up that stuff nice as well, because what
Mhm,
Obi-Wan tells Ezra is, "What you need, you already have, but you seem to be letting it all go," because
mhm.
what Ezra like, I wanted to talk about this too with Ezra, I wrote this, like, all over my notes for 3,
Go
um,
for it.
so Ezra, after Malachor, like I said, we get angsty Ezra.
Yeah,
Ezra becomes very like self-reliant and very tied to the holocron because what I think happens like because he sees that okay, I want to still help people, but when I trusted like Maul, when I trusted other people and I got
yeah,
too into like that mentality, it cost Ahsoka's life, and at that time because they believed Ahsoka was dead at that time, and it cost Kanan his sight. And he also relies on the holocron because I think for him, he thinks, okay, so we put all this effort into getting this
yeah,
holocron because we thought it would help. And so I'm still gonna like fully rely on this holocron because like we got it, so might as well just like fully rely on it because what else do I have? Especially not helping that Kanan becomes reserved. But what happens in Twin Sons is Obi-Wan reminds him like you don't always need to push like you need to like also trust in your family you already have.
yeah,
And that's what like Kanan starts to remind him of in the beginning of the season, but he still struggles with throughout the season. Is he constantly, and that's what keeps drawing him back to Maul is what is like the key to destroying the Sith? What is the key to like saving everyone?
yeah,
What we like, and that's what he thinks Obi-Wan is. But Obi-Wan reminds him like even if you believe that, like you're by going on this quest, by constantly following Maul and trying to get Maul to help you solve things, you're neglecting like the family you do have that can help you fight back.
yeah.
And so he goes back with his family, and that's like and that's how he ends season 4. Like we'll get into talking about season 4 is with his family. And I was
Mhm.
like, so good. Love it. I love it.
Alright, so season 4 is where we get the climax of the story. Um,
Yes.
we get a lot of different, sacrifices, both physically, emotionally, all of these things.
Yeah.
Um, and then we get to a pretty epic finale. Um, I I think the one thing that we really need to talk about right now, and it is uh, it's the final few episodes.
Yeah.
Um, and I think we need to start with Jedi Knight.
Really want to start off with the tears? Oh God.
Um, because I mean, it's such an important episode.
I know.
It is
Yeah.
such an important episode.
I just don't wanna cry.
I'll take it away. I'll take it away on this
Got my
one,
tissues
okay?
ready, we're good. Yep.
Okay, okay. And hug your loath cat. Hug your
Star
loath cat. Why, Eric? Because Star Wars is
Wars is
Spain
pain.
without the S.
Star Wars is
Um, yes. So Jedi Knight, it's also one of okay. Jedi Knight is the saddest episode of the series.
yeah.
However, it is also the funniest episode of the series
What?
because of the interaction between Kanan and Ezra. I mean, Kanan and Hera. Like
Okay,
as they're trying to escape,
that's
as
fair.
they're trying to escape. No, I am not undoing the end of Jedi Knight. I am not undoing the end of Jedi Knight. I just love the interaction between Kanan and Hera leading up to that point because you know drugged up Hera was pretty funny.
Oh my god.
Like she was pretty funny. Um, so as they're trying to escape, um, Governor Price, who we're gonna we need to just do an episode about her at some point.
Oh god, you really wanna do that? I'll be ranting the whole
Yeah,
time.
that's fine. Um, Governor Price. So they're trying to escape through the Imperial fuel depot on. They're on Lothal,
Yeah.
and as they're trying to escape, Governor Price gives the command to open fire on the fuel depot. And as the explosion is happening, Kanan hops off the troop transport and hops onto the exploding um, fuel pod, and he uses the force to hold it back. It's at that moment that Hera tries to save Kanan herself, and Kanan uses the force to not only hold the flames back, but to hold her back. And I know, it's emotional, and I'm starting to get emotional talking about it. Um, as he's holding the flames back and holding Hera back, he finally regains his eyesight. And
Mhm.
the last thing he sees is his family. Um, and I, I, I love that episode so much,
Mhm.
but I hate it at the same time because it's the
Mhm.
last time we see Kanan.
Exactly. I
Uh,
mean, technically, we see Kanan in, like, the next well, not the next the following 2 episodes from that, but, like, he's not
yeah,
alive.
yeah, exactly. We see him in a mural.
Well,
Um,
it's also his, like, Force Ghost or whatever
yeah, yeah, yeah.
presentation that
Um,
is. But yeah.
and just the it's such a powerful episode.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah, oh my god, how was your experience first watching this episode? I cried a lot. I cried a lot.
um, even I watched it together.
Mhm.
Um, and it was after Rebels had finished airing. I think
Mhm.
we finished it up on Disney Plus.
Okay.
Like we had like two seasons left, and we went through the final two seasons on Disney Plus. Um, we were holding each other like
Aw.
during that scene. Um, she's in tears, and like I'm trying to hold back tears. Like, because like I'm just trying to hold her to make sure she's okay.
Mm.
And just
Yeah.
it as a fan, it's one of those moments you'll never forget.
Mhm.
Because it's like it's like one of those things like in various shows and stuff where it's like, where were you when this happened? Um
Mm. See,
it was
I so Okay, go
Yeah.
ahead, go ahead.
Um, so here's the thing. I knew about the death. I just didn't know how it happened.
Okay.
So when I saw it happen, it was like, I mean, I was shocked. Like, I was shocked.
Mhm.
Um, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, 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 don't apologize, don't apologize. Um,
Yeah.
I so I had a very different experience in the sense that I watched it live when it first came out,
Mm,
um, back in February of 2018. Um, and so I I had no idea it was happening. Obviously, um, like, you can infer like, I kind of had a feeling like something bad was gonna happen to Kanan,
mm,
just because like, inferring through, like, the show and his arc and everything that was building up with him, especially, like, with the wolves and everything at that point, I was like, "Okay, I
yeah.
think something's gonna happen with Kanan." But obviously, like, I had no because I was watching it live, and, like, watching it live was insane in itself, um, uh, to have, like, no idea what was gonna happen and then experience that and all the emotions, but also, like, online, 'cause, like, no one else had known it was gonna happen. Like, going on Twitter that night, when everyone had first seen it and, like, just the amount of emotion everyone was carrying and, um, it was, like, really, really, like, hard to handle, because, like, this character means so much to people, myself included. I I cried a lot. I cried so much. I like, I remember, like, having to go to school afterwards, like, the next day, because I watched it that night, I was crying, like, all night, and then I had to go to school and be like, "Oh, well, I just, like, watched one of my favorite characters die. This is fine." Um,
This is fine. We're
but,
good.
uh, it was, like I I I talk about this too, is it was such a powerful moment of sadness and fandom to the point
Hello? We uh we lost Allie for a second. John says, I just pretend Kanan doesn't die and skip that episode because I
Mhm.
don't want to be sad.
Yeah. What is the
Yeah.
last thing you heard me say?
You were talking about having to go to school the next day.
Okay. Yeah, so and then also, like, getting to, like, react with people online, because you know, like, how, like, certain when big moments happen in shows, like, those tweets gain more traction.
Yeah.
So I Kanan, I'm so sad you died, but I am deep down grateful for what you gave me in return, because the tweet I did about Kanan's, death, was the first tweet of mine that really like, my first Rebels tweet that really gained traction. Like, I'd always been online and tweeting before, but it was, like, my first Rebels tweet that really, like, people, like,
Yeah.
when you get that rare tweet that actually, like, gets
Oh yeah. 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 Yeah.
and so because of Kanan's death, I probably wouldn't be here right now if it wasn't because Kanan's death. Maybe I would have, like, had built some other traction with some other tweet, but, that was what really helped me start, like, meeting people in fandom more and, like, getting more into the inner circle, of fandom, and I that meant a lot to me, because, like I said, I've been watching Rebels, like, live since I was, like, 13 years old, and it was just so powerful that ultimately the show I had watched since I was 13, I was now able to cope with such a sad moment in a show with so many other people online. It was
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. It was it was a moment. It was man. It was a moment. Um, and it was hi. Thank you. There you go. And it was one that I will never forget. Like I said, we were sitting on the couch watching it, and we were literally holding each other
Aw.
as we watched it. Because like it was just oh man. So I guess we should talk about the world between worlds real quick, and then we should go into the finale. Um, The World Between Worlds, a lot of you saw in Ahsoka. If you had never seen Rebels before, it was introduced in Rebels. And this is where Ezra saved Ahsoka's life from Darth Vader, which is awesome. However, Ezra tries to go back and save Kanan as well, and Ahsoka talks him out of it.
Mhm. Yeah.
How did you feel about that part?
I think it was really like in terms of Ezra's story, it was really,
I'll talk about your
really like
headcanon event. Sorry.
oh god. It was
Yeah,
really like a powerful kind of thing. Because like I said, Ezra was very reactive throughout Rebels. And as being a reactive character, you would expect Ezra to try to get him out, you know.
yeah,
And the fact that he was able to like in this moment step back and
yeah,
let go, it was incredibly powerful and really informed his actions throughout the rest of the show.
yeah. My wife calls it a canon event. So if you've seen Spider Verse, it's a
Yeah.
it's an Ezra Bridger canon event.
Oh,
Um,
no.
uh,
Oh,
but yeah, that is when we also see that Palpatine is trying to get involved in the world between worlds and change the course of the history of the Empire, and he is eventually stopped by Ezra and Ahsoka, and that sets up our finale, where um, yeah, I'm sorry. I hope I I hope I didn't interrupt you too much during that. Um,
you're good.
okay. And that sets up our finale where Ezra goes bye bye.
Mhm.
Um, Ezra and Thrawn go off to another galaxy that we find out through Ahsoka, and the rest of the rebels are left kind of picking up the pieces after the assault on Lothal, and also trying to figure out their futures. And the epilogue to Rebels is so good because that mural that's behind you um is the one that Sabine painted,
Mhm.
and it's about the family. And uh you know, Sabine and Ahsoka decide it's time to bring that family back together. Um,
Mhm.
and that's where we end an emotional Rebels finale. Um,
Mhm.
do you want to talk about the finale real quick before we go?
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I have thoughts. Um, I so
My wife has the mural bag also.
Oh, I have it. It's back
Yeah,
there somewhere.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. Allie has it too.
yeah.
So yeah, this is the
Yes,
mural bag.
I love that
Yeah.
bag so much.
I love the starboard on the bag, by the way.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
that
Yeah,
is really
no,
cool.
I
There you go.
love it. I love my Rebels
Uh,
bag.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Um,
Anyway.
yeah. So, one of I've been talking about, like, Hera's arc throughout this,
Mhm.
um, the way because honestly, like, not even just, like, the finale, but these last few episodes, the way Hera reacts is so it makes me wanna cry just as much as Kanan stuff, honestly, because Hera, like I said, a lot of her like coping, or her drive is to throw herself headfirst into the cause. And then Kanan's death is really that moment when she has to really realize because like she's seen stakes before. She's seen like Kanan get blinded, or she didn't see that, but like, you know, she saw Kanan after it. And she says she's seen the cost of the war, but like this was really the moment when that cost really hit her because especially not even just in the finale, but in the Wolves of Bador, the episode before World Between Worlds,
Yeah,
when they're about to leave to go towards the temple, and she's like debating. She's like, "I don't want you guys to go. Like, I want you guys to come back. Like, don't
yeah,
risk your lives." And um, her being reminded of Canaan, like she says, "Okay, but like come back if I ask." And then Zeb says, "They'll be okay," and then she says, "I used to always believe that," and I I wanna cry every time, like, that is just so sad that, because she truly, like I said, costs had happened before, but, like, she clearly, like, always had faith that they'd all have more time and still be
Yeah.
together, and that's, like, that scene in the cave with the Kalkori where she's like, "I thought we would have more time, like, why did I wait so long to tell him?" And then in this episode, um, like, a lot of people have also have called this on Twitter, but, like, the fact that, like, she ultimately it's like a complete not complete opposite of the premiere, but it's instead of wanting Ezra to go to accomplish a mission, she wants him to stay. Out of everyone there, she, like, is so reactive into wanting Ezra to stay and not wanting him to go, like, risk his life.
Uh,
And that is such a like, the fact that she in her journey, she is now putting directly 1,000% putting family over cause. So to see, like, her her grow and be like, okay, so I the cause is still super important to her, obviously, but she in these last few episodes just really realizes like I want to prioritize my family like 10 times more than I used to. And that's just it makes me so sad, like especially and then you just know she's such a good mom probably because she knows she probably just puts so much effort into like her oh my god, it's just my emotions, yeah.
I think part of the reason why she wants Ezra to stay
Mm,
is because he at that point, well, they're all like that reminder of Canaan. And
exactly.
she
Yeah.
needs that reminder of Canaan. And
Yeah.
especially Ezra because of how close he got to Canaan
Right.
throughout the series. Um, but Canaan does give Hera something to
Yeah.
remember him by, and that is little Jason Sindula.
Oh, makes me so
Alright.
happy, honestly.
Yes.
Yeah.
So my wife and I were talking about this earlier because she was asking what we were going to talk about tonight. And I told her,
Mhm.
yeah, Allie and I are going to just gush about Rebels for 2 hours. And she says, okay, yeah, that's fine. And then we were talking about them kind of like bringing Kanan back as a Force ghost for like a live action thing, like in Ahsoka season 2, and like how we see Jason is showing that signs of Force sensitivity in Ahsoka. Why not have Force Ghost Kanan visit Jason as like a way to just check in on his kid, just to make sure his kid's good, you know? Um, and then my wife started crying at that thought as we were driving down to the Edgar Allan Poe Fest. So yeah, that was fun. Um, yeah, so that was her headcanon thing, and I was like, you know what, that would be kind of fun. Um, but yeah, we love Jason Sindula around here. Um, so do you think because we know that the ghost is at the Battle of Exegol, do you think Jason Sindula was there?
I go back and forth on this because like,
Okay.
I it's so hard because, like, Hera has so much complex like I said, like, she still has complexity after, Kanan's death. 'Cause,
Yeah.
like I said, she's clearly still very dedicated to the cause and the fight, but she's
Oh, yeah.
clearly increasingly protective of family, so it's hard to gauge at that point in time in her healing process whether or not she would, like, be on fully on board with Jason being there or not. So, I it's really a toss-up, like, part of me says she would be too productive, and then part of me says she realizes how important the fight is and how he'd wanna be there. So I don't know. I go back and forth. I don't know. I really
I
don't.
could I could see like Jason, Uncle Zeb, Uncle Callus, and Uncle Ezra all in the ghost with Uncle Chopper just like mowing down
Oh my
the
god.
final order. Like that to me would just be amazing.
Yeah.
Like like I would pay money to see that movie. Um yeah. So I know we didn't get to everything in Rebels, but we did hit a bunch of the highlights.
Yeah.
Um and I feel like I'm sorry if we rushed to the finale. I'm sorry about that.
You're good.
Um, because the finale is so important to Rebels. The finale is um that epilogue is incredible. Um, my wife and I cried during that too. Um,
Mhm.
yeah. So I'm gonna make this announcement real quick now that we're talking about Star Wars animation. We are going to be doing a series of episodes where we are going to be talking about the Bad Batch.
Woo!
We're doing a Bad Batch rewatch because I miss my boys. I miss my boys. I miss Clone Force 99. Um, I just miss them all so much. I know that I'm gonna cry when I get to the season 2 finale again. I'm gonna cry when I get to the series finale, but yeah. Um, so we're gonna be starting that up soon. Allie and I are gonna be talking about Bad Batch. And eventually we're gonna do a Rebels rewatch too.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
We
Yes,
are. We are gonna
please.
do a series of episodes
If
where
this
we're gonna
episode
talk.
was any example, I could say a lot more. Yeah.
Well, just imagine episodes like these where we just break down one
One
single
episode.
episode.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Um, Starting with Spark of Rebellion. Like
Yes.
we're gonna go right from the
Slay.
beginning.
Slay.
Um, so we're gonna be doing that. We're doing Bad Batch. Eventually we will get to Clone Wars.
Eventually.
Uh, Clone Wars, Clone Wars is a lot because
Oh,
that's
yeah.
7
Oh,
seasons.
yeah. That is a lot.
Yeah, Clone Wars is a lot. But I also want to throw this out there. Resistance. I think maybe
Yes.
we should do a series on Resistance.
Yes. Yes, I agree.
Yeah. Um, because honestly, like I love talking about live action Star Wars, but animated Star Wars is where it's at for me. Like,
Yes.
yeah.
No,
Um,
I like, honestly, and that means a lot to me, and that's why I was so like, literally, when you asked, like, about this weekend, I was like, "Rebels." Any opportunity I get to, like, talk about Star Wars animation, especially my favorite show,
mhm,
I am so game. So game.
yeah. So yeah, that's it. We covered a lot while also not covering all of it. Because
Right? Yeah.
there is a lot with Rebels.
We
There
sped
is a
run season 4, I'm like, "Oh, no."
yeah. Um
Yeah,
But I think once we start doing, like, the rewatch recap, like,
for
we
sure.
can really just take our time with it.
For sure.
Um, yeah. So, yeah, that's it. If you've never watched Star Wars Rebels, do it. The 10th anniversary is a perfect way to kick it off. Also recommend A New Dawn. That book is awesome.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Plus we get an amazing antagonist in that book with Ray Sloan. Like
Yes.
she is so good.
Yes.
She's so good. Um yes, recommend that. And also if you want more Rebels goodness besides that, check out all 6 Timothy Zahn Thrawn novels in current canon. The Loose Thrawn trilogy, which is Thrawn, Thrawn Alliances, and Thrawn Treason.
Yeah.
And then you have the Thrawn Ascendancy trilogy, which is Chaos Rising, Lesser Evil, and Greater Good. And all 6 of those are awesome books. So yes, well, technically 7 because of A New Dawn. Yeah. So Rebels, awesome. Also read the Kanan comic. The Kanan comic is amazing.
Yes, every Rebels, like, novelization, do it, yes.
Yes. There's also a Rebels manga too.
Yes, that's what I'm saying, like, every
Yeah.
Rebels, like,
Yeah.
novelization, yes.
Which I really want to read the Rebels manga, like I do. All
Ooh,
right. That's it. I'm gonna hop into Discord here shortly. But we'll be back next week with another episode. Uh don't know what we're talking about yet, but we're gonna talk about something soon. We might do more Outlaws. I think we're gonna do more Outlaws next week. Because Outlaws is amazing and I love it and it's incredible, and I'm trying to take my time with that game. I'm playing a lot of Sabak. Sabak is amazing. Um, oh, Lando's coming to the Outlaws expansion. That drops in November. and you get to play Sabak against Lando. So there's that.
Mm.
Um, all right. Anyway, that's it for us, Allie. Once again, thank you. I hope we didn't rush through too much of it.
It's all
A
good.
next
It's the
episode?
most
No.
I've never gotten to do like 2.5, 3 hours, whatever, of just talking about Rebels. So I'm here for it. I'm here
Whenever
for
you want to talk about Rebels, you let me know, and we will
it.
make time to talk about Rebels
Yeah.
because it's an amazing series. Um, yes, and you also have an Ezra lightsaber too.
Oh
So
yeah, it's back
yeah,
there too. I have a lot of Rebels. I got here's right near me. I've got my digital.
yeah, I love your little Sabine there. Yes, yes. I still need to get the entire. I
The
got the
dust miner
Zeb.
back there. Oh wait. Oh, Hera.
Yeah,
Hello.
Hera with the
Hera doesn't
X-wing.
want to show up. There we go.
Yeah, there we go. So I got the Zeb Black series, but I need, and we have the Kanan Black series.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got the Kanan Black series over there. But I need the Hera, the Sabine, the Ezra, and of course the Chopper. Um,
I gotta
yeah.
end it off with this on. You know.
No, he's on one of your
There we go.
shelves there. Ah, there you go.
There
I
we go.
want a Sabine helmet now.
Oh yeah, this is my
That is
pride and
awesome.
joy. Making this was my pride and joy of Rebels.
That is awesome. That is awesome.
Ugh.
Uh, all right.
All
Well, that is it.
right.
Hope that you all have a wonderful week, and we will talk to you later. May the force be with you. May you always fight for light and life. And remember, at the end of the day, we are all the Republic. Until next time, bye bye.